Hello and welcome to Infamous, the audio podcast. This is Brandon or Mutilus on Discord. I almost did it. I fucked it up.
This is Parker, go by One Who Parks on Discord.
This is Aaron. I'll go by Treffenwood on Discord.
Nice.
And we don't have the opportunity to change Jeremy's name this week. This is a sad...
I'm just going to make his name a space.
That's awful.
Jeremy's
because
name.
it's really
no
hard to
see his name. It's just going
is.
to be a little picture.
Yeah, that's terrible.
It's going to be great. Just underscore Jeremy.
Oh, underscore. An underscore would be okay. That's just fine.
Yeah, that's way better. People will know
zero,
who the underscore
zero
is.
symbology. That would be really gross.
Yeah. I'll also change his profile picture to just a blank screen. That'd be great.
If you do an empty chair, I think that might be better.
An empty chair. So, I don't know. I know that you've played D&D with me, but I don't know how much time you spend digging through the monster manuals. But in every edition of the monster manual, since I think the second one, there's been an entry for the monster, the Invisible Stalker. And so in the different various drawings of the Invisible Stalker, artists have taken their time to try and create a scene in which it's obvious there's an invisible creature with a knife trying to kill you. And it's interesting to see the artwork throughout the years, and then the 3.5 edition, the 2.5 edition book, it's just a white panel. It's just like zero art, it was just blank.
That's nice.
And the guy who did it got credit in the book for his art. And so it's like illustration by like Dan Dumbass. And like it's in the back of the book too. It's like, what the fuck? So anyway, I thought that was funny. So I'll use that picture. And Jeremy the Invisible Stalker.
There we go.
All right, Parker, you're down to 727 probationary episodes.
Man alive.
Mm-hmm. It's a good thing you showed up today, or else you would have had like 800,000.
I feel good.
Yeah, exponential increases.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Parker, do we have news?
We have news.
Hey,
news! Yes. News!
Hit me with it.
All right, we have cards for Pyro and Blob. First card's called Pyrotechnics. Really cool sounding card. I love the art. We can't really see the full art yet, but he's making like a shark out of fire and looks like it's just like fire shark. That's all you have to say, right?
Fire shark.
Great comment. Unaffiliated active card, Pyro can spend X power to do it for each power spent to choose an enemy character with the Incinerate special condition, and within 3, each chosen character drops 1 objective token and is pushed short away from Pyro. So it's a non-size restricted push and dropping an objective for 1 power each per character within 3 of him if they're already incinerated.
Aaron, do you want to go first?
Sure. I think the card's really good. On my trash scale, we're going to give it a hot take 7.
Wait.
Remember, a 10 is there is no way you would ever not play this card.
Wow.
And negative 10 being just burn it.
Oh, so this gets the 17 out of 20.
Sure, 17.
Okay.
Yeah.
You guys created the scale, not me.
We did not create the scale.
You totally created
it.
No, I
we
created
just tried
the scale.
to explain it to people.
Yeah.
No, this is 100%.
I love this card.
I'm
this is
really,
great.
I'm really excited that you thought this was a 7.
I love also.
Why 7?
Okay.
Okay, why 7? So, first of all, this game is about scenario. Number 2, this game does 2 things. It pushes people and it steals their objectives. There's a reason why Voodoo and Black Cat are so good, right? Because they say, what was yours is now mine, right? It's like legitimate adultery. And this guy can do this to whoever he wants, whenever he wants, unless their name is Voodoo, because Pyrotechnics doesn't work against Voodoo. Go figure. But yeah, so it's a way to steal stuff that you can't otherwise get in the game.
Yeah, no, it's really cool for that. I love that it's in Brotherhood. Not that it's required for Brotherhood, but it's a Brotherhood character that does it. Because I don't know if you guys remember a card called The Whims of Chaos. It's a Scarlet Witch unaffiliated card. She can spend any number of power when she to play her card. Choose a non-dazed character within range 3 of Scarlet Witch for each power spent. And if you target an ally, they remove a damage and heal a condition. The heal a damage, remove a condition. If you choose an enemy, you give them either Hex, Root, or Incinerate. And so you could just double up the cards.
On the list.
Yeah, you could just double up cards and do Whims of Chaos Incinerate, and they each spend like 3 power, and 3 people drop objectives, are incinerated, and are pushed. And you don't have to activate either character, which is really cool.
Oh, that is interesting. The fact that you don't have to activate the characters to be standing there. That's cool.
Right. And so you could activate like Quicksilver after doing all of this, and then he could just run around and grab all the tokens.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even think you'll. I like your idea with Scarlet Witch. I don't think you'll need her. I think
no, it's just an interesting
the world
available combo. You can already incinerate people, right? Toad incinerates. Obviously, Pyro does. I mean, it's not hard.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think we all like this. This is a great card. We're excited to get it done. I also like that it's an auto push, and so it's also a strong scenario card. Even if you're not trying to get their extracts, it's just good for secures as well.
Yeah. One thing that stood out for me in this is that we do not have in the game a lot of really strong, unaffiliated standout cards attached to a character for a 3-drop. We have lots for 4s.
Mystique. Mystique.
You said
Mystique,
a lot, not none.
Luke Cage. Yeah, I said not that many. Like we have
I
Luke Cage. We have Mystique. But we don't. I don't know of how many we have that like really cool cards that are so strong. You might go, okay, well, I already have an Incinerate in my faction. I might just put Pyro in here because Pyrotechnics is in the game.
Well,
like that's
you
a
mean
thing.
cards like Blood Red and Personal, right?
Yeah, those great cards.
Those great cards that are in every list.
Yeah, like what's Craven's card?
Fearful Symmetry.
The Fearful Symmetry. What am I thinking? I can't believe I forgot the name of that card. It's in all my lists.
Yeah.
Even the ones.
I mean,
Craven.
to be fair, you should remember that one because it's so stupid.
Yeah. So I think that Pyrotechnics is going to be one of those that will make you consider Pyro if you already have an Incinerate effect in your list somehow. Like you'll be like, I'm just going to put Pyro in here because Pyrotechnics exists, and it's going to give me a great benefit on the top of the Incinerate I counted on.
It's actually kind of hard in Brotherhood because Brotherhood is the one affiliation that has great character cards.
Oh my god, there's so many.
Right? Now add another one.
Brotherhood's actual affiliation bonus is they have unlimited Tactics cards. Like that's their unlimited amount of cards. Yeah. Speaking of
that would be nice.
Speaking of, what's next?
Yeah, Leapfrog. Finally, we wanted Toad and Blob for a long time. They're best buds, so this is a card for them. It is unaffiliated, reactive card. After an allied Toad deals damage with an attack, an allied Blob and Toad both spend a power. The Blob immediately advances short and makes his strike. So out of turn, move and attack for Blob if Toad hurts someone, and they both have a power to spend afterwards.
I do think this is a good card. I just don't think it's going to get played a lot. What's
interesting about this one is that it does not have a range restriction.
Yeah, I noticed that.
It also does not have to be the same target. So, like, Toad can be on a completely other side of the map, attack somebody, and then Blob, going completely other side of the map, moves and attacks someone else. Like, it's just a move and attack card for Blob anytime Toad ever attacks, which is pretty not nothing. That's not like nothing. If Blob gets, well, I guess if Blob doesn't get pushed easily off of places, but if your opponent has one of the few effects in the game that does move Blob, if you have Toad and Leapfrog from the other side of the board, all of a sudden he just walks right back onto the point.
Aaron, do we get a trash scale?
Absolutely. The trash scale for Leapfrog is, drumroll, 3.
Oh, we made it into the positives. That's
it is a positive.
All of the Hydra cards added together.
This is a good card. It is a full activation for Blob. Right? He doesn't have a charge normally, so this is 2 actions that Blob gets to take. For which, not only does Toad get to hurt someone, Blob gets to move, Blob gets to damage someone, potentially, and potentially push them off a point.
Yeah.
Like, the potential for this card to do really good work is high. However, the reason it's not higher than a 3 is because there's still a lot of conditions that have to be met.
Well, I think the most important one, that it isn't a reliable condition, because it's Toad dealing damage, and that's specifically what he's not good at doing. It's like the only thing he doesn't do. Right.
You're going to have to play Toad aggressively in some fashion to get use out of this card, which means he's not sitting back holding a valuable extract. You've got to get damage on either your 4-point builder, or if you're spicy, your 5-point range 2 spender.
I have a question.
Go.
And so I'm actually interested to hear your opinion on this because of things you've said in the past. How much and would you like this more if it said instead of after Toad deals damage is after Toad suffers damage?
I have to think about that for a second. I think as the player of the card, I would like it a lot more.
Okay.
I'm trying to decide if that would actually be bad for the game, because I strongly dislike taking away my agency as an attacking player at times.
Right. And so I know that you love reactive abilities because you feel that making your opponent have bad choices is strong.
Oh, yeah.
And de-incentivizing them from attacking you is hugely effective. And this card might even see play. Like, if the meta became, well, you can never attack Toad because Blob will kill you. And so, like, but you'd be super happy with that. Like, you're like, I'm playing it. So,
Oh, this card goes from a 3 to at least a 7 with that change.
I thought you might say that. That's why I was curious.
Yeah. I would say that. I might be wrong, but that's what I'd say.
Anyway, I agree. This is a great card. I think it's going to get left on the floor a lot, especially being a Brotherhood character card, because there's just so many other good cards too.
This is one, I'm a big champion of. As soon as I see things, I go, where could I break this? Like, where could I abuse this? I don't know where Blob goes yet, or if Blob goes in the same list as Toad does outside of Brotherhood, but Toad is the ubiquitous character. He's very strong in a lot of places. So if you can think of a reason to play Blob with Toad, then I think this might make a cut on another team. Because like you said, Brotherhood, it's really hard to make this one stack up in the top 5 to actually see play when there's so many other great, character-based cards. But I know of lots of factions that this would be a really strong card for them. This would be a great card to play. So I think it's possible to see this outside of Brotherhood more often, if you could think of a reason to play Blob, which I haven't really.
I think taking up 2 of your non-affiliated slots with these 2 would be pushing it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, maybe.
Kingpin says maybe.
Yeah.
I could see a Kingpin CS.
Oh, yeah.
Wide enough, wanting Toad to find an extract and just live, and then Blob to sit on a point, which he is made to do, right?
Yeah, he does do.
Right.
The problem, though, is when are you going to want to take Toad and have him go aggressive? The answer is never. So that combo might be valuable, but I'm still not sure you'd want the card.
Well, to be fair, though, he attacks a fair amount on like a secure objective because he's just trying to push people off. And so if you just randomly spike and you're like, now I get to attack over here and try and push you off.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
I was gonna say I've played against Toad a lot. I have not played with him a lot, but in every game I played against him, he's attacked at least once, and in a situation where he absolutely should have, right? So I think it does happen.
I think he averages about 4 attacks in my games. There's obviously the games where he gets an objective early and just runs away, but people almost always chase him and kind of get him into a corner. And usually when he's at the point where you're like, all right, well, I can't run anymore, he'll like acid spit somebody and then, sometimes die. And then in other games where he's just like, well, there's not really an extract for me to grab, so I'm just going to try and push people off points and hop away and be annoying.
The very nice thing about the card is you do not have to pay for the power before you make the attack.
Yes, it's not a proactive, it's a reactive.
Yeah. Though this card is super forgiving.
Mm-hmm.
Like, very forgiving. It has all the things you would want a card to say, so it's not a Rube Goldberg machine.
I think they've learned that people just fucking hate those cards where it's like, if you spend a power and then, roll crit wild skull, wild blank skull, man, then you get to move a model and you're like, oh my god, I'm going to tear my eyes out.
Or that damn
Grievous
card in X4. I always think of the one in X-Force, Dirty Work. You're just like, oh man, if a character spends 3 power and you mark somebody, then you kill them with a character, then everybody gets 2 power.
Is it that bad? I didn't realize it was. Oh my god.
Yeah. It's just
mark the. Yeah. Oh my god, it is proactive. Ugh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah,
and you don't even get to pick who. It has to be their most expensive model.
Yes.
Ugh, that's so bad. And all it does is give out 2 power to each person.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's only affiliated characters. Oh, it's so bad.
Yes, it's just insanely, like, why is this so incredibly restricted? This could have like 4 restrictions taken off of it and it would still just be okay. It wouldn't even be broken. Like, it's really weird how some cards are so very restricted. And then we got cool cards like this one. So kudos.
Cool.
The last card, super awesome, really good card, top notch. I think this one might even get restricted. Brace for Impact.
Strong
to very strong.
It's
a new
art.
For those of you who don't
new art,
know,
new symbol.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know, it's Brace for Impact is an old card. It stops damage when you are getting collided
People know what
with.
Brace does, Parker. They listen to podcasts.
Yeah. but it's a reskin, and it's got a cool blob art where something's bouncing off of him. I
It
can't
looks
tell
like
what
a
it's
trash
bouncing off.
can.
Is that what it is?
I mean, it makes sense. People throw trash cans. I don't know.
Yeah. In this game, for sure.
So, do you think there's any meaning behind this? Or you think they just wanted to put new art out there?
They've done it a couple times, right? Grievous Wounds, I think, has 3 different copies in the game, and
Right, but it's been a
3
long time
copies.
since we've seen a restricted card get reprinted.
That's true.
If ever, have we ever seen one?
Well, I
Medpack,
think
maybe.
I don't know if Medpack actually got reprinted. I think it just got like special versions, right? Like the
Yeah, I think it was like event kit stuff. Like I don't think it
Event
was
kit stuff,
actually in a box.
yeah. But I
So
think Brace.
what I was
thinks,
thinking
like,
is that this might be like they're planning ahead on when the update's going to happen, and they're going to basically cycle the restricted cards by just not reprinting them.
I also think Brace is like a really perfect restricted card. Like it's exactly in that space. Very strong, but it shouldn't be ubiquitous. You should have to choose.
I just played a game today where so Brace and Patch Up are my 2 restricted cards, and I took neither.
I don't know if I've ever played with 0 restricteds, but I've definitely played down restricteds. Like I played 1 instead of 2. I've definitely played games down cards. So, all right, cool. Well, let's move into the next phase. Let's see here. Currently playing. Parker, you still playing Sentinels?
I did play some Sentinel games, and I've decided not to play any more Sentinel games. So I played against Jeremy and I played against Aaron, and basically what we discovered is that the Sentinels are definitely bully boys. They're very, very strong into fair factions, because anybody who just wants to like put up their dukes and walk up at you and try to fight you, Sentinels have tons of advantages to manhandle them. Even some of like the slightly above the curve factions like X-Men, I still think Sentinels are pretty advantaged, and they have a lot of things that just keep working the whole game and never quit working. So they feel really good. But if anyone is purposely saying, well, I want to make sure that I have multiple models in my list that push any size, because I never want to get fucked by that. So because I'm going to bring my list to a tournament and I'm going to see all different kinds of models all day long, I need my models to always work. So I'm going to make sure they all push any size. Or so I always have the option to put more than one model in my roster that has pushes of any size. Well, then all of a sudden the Sentinels just start to get worse, right? And somebody says, okay, well, I'm going to make sure to steal extracts. I'm going to make sure to have a really strong turn 1 scenario play, and whatever it is that they're doing every time you're preparing for that kind of competitive environment with your list, and you're making your list like that, Sentinels get worse because they are fairly inflexible unless you just totally abandon their archetype and try to kind of hybridize them. They're very inflexible. So what they do really well is bully just straight up, I'm going to punch you and you're going to punch me. But if your opponent's not planning on doing that, your opponent is planning on winning through scenario play and specifically making sure they ignore things like size 5s and stuff like that, then they feel very ham-handed. They just feel like they get to stand there like towers and watch your opponent win and kind of run by them, and it never mattered that they were standing there. So
you seem
do you
pretty
feel
down
they
on
could
Sentinels.
Yeah.
Well, I just think I think they kind of feel like and maybe I need to play Spider Foes again in like the modern era, but I feel like they play a lot like Spider Foes, because Spider Foes are also like that. You're like, oh, you're just going to come fight me? Well, I am Spider Foes. You are going to have to do so much more work than I'm going to do, because I'm going to start eating you. But if you're not coming to come fight me, then if that's not what you're doing, then I'm probably just going to lose, because Spider Foes need to be fought. Like, they desire to be fought. All their mechanics say, if you start to hurt me, I'm going to win because you're hurting me. Because I have all these cool advantages that let me come back.
And you're saying that Sentinels play the same way?
They play a similar style, which is theirs is not so much they're coming back, although they do have really deep health pools and they do revive their models. I think their thing is if you're going to kind of come in and target one Sentinel, where the other Sentinels are going to pull you away, and if you're going to try to beat me with dice, well, I'm going to make sure my dice are always efficient and always working. You're going to find some way to deny me power. Well, it doesn't matter. I'm just generating enough power. So like there are a bunch of cool things they do that my opponent's not doing, and so they get a benefit that way. However, if you're playing the Sentinels, it's pretty restricted. You're pretty rigid in your construction, and
I
so if your
think I
opponent
think
says,
you are saying some
"I'm gonna
stuff I
throw,"
agree with, but I disagree with they can only do like if I think that they don't meet your play style, and I think that's a lot of the issues you've had is basically trying to relearn how to play with the
Mm.
list. And the list is fairly rigid. It doesn't have a lot of like flexibility to reinvent itself. But there's other affiliations that choose to be very rigid and have no trouble with that. Like Guardians has a very known formula of take 3 models and 2 unaffiliateds and do your best. Like they do that every single time pretty much, and there's almost no exception. Like there's a lot of affiliations that do rigid things and are not transformative in their roster. I expected you to struggle with Sentinels when you went to play them because they're absolutely not your play style, and I don't think you've ever really sat down and tried to play a control game. Not that like it's because it's harder to play control, just because it's not naturally your ability, the way you play the game. You don't think in those lines.
I think if there was a pilot who didn't want to fight people and they just wanted to control people, maybe there's a way but I swore I was trying.
I'm not saying you weren't trying, but like
Yeah.
it's just like the first time I tried to play Web Warriors, I didn't get it and I just got rolled over. Like it's just completely different like lines of thought you have to go down. You have to prioritize different activations. It is a fairly different play style. Just some people don't get attrition lists. Like they take spider foes and just die, and I'm like, what are you doing wrong? Like they just don't understand like the aggressive nature you have to play like a fighty list.
Yeah, I guess that's what it is. I've always felt like Spider Foes was a glove, like it just fit right on me. Like I never had to wonder how to play them.
Yeah,
but
because I think it's your natural play style. It's take good models and do what they do, which is just get in there and fight people.
I feel like I will say this though, the Sentinels were. I got done playing Web Warriors and I really didn't like it. Like I didn't enjoy it immediately. The Sentinels were not immediately unenjoyable. In fact, I still don't think I'll never play them again. Whereas with Web Warriors, every time I pick them up, because I love who is Spider-Man. Like I love his character, and every time I pick him up, I go, no, you know what's going to happen, and I put him back.
Yeah,
down.
exactly my point. Like you're doing that with not Spider-Man, so there was no chance you were going to like it.
Yeah. But I think. So I'm switching gears. I'm going to try something with Hydra just because I wanted to. And
I think that's. I'm not saying you have to play Sentinels. I'm just saying I don't think you've really explored anything with them really, because you played basically the same list 4 times, and then the first 2 games were not games because you didn't know how to play them yet, and your second 2 games, which are against better opponents, well not better opponents, but more practiced opponents, and they were fairly close games if I recall. Like it usually came down to like the last turn, like there was a way out. But
I don't. I guess I don't. I hope I never said this. I don't think they're bad.
Yeah,
bad. I do not think they're bad, and I didn't start with I'll never. Man. I think the full stamp to put on it is not Parker's favorite. That's really what it is. It's just it's not doesn't have anything to do with their quality.
The main thing I
do think they'll struggle in a really competitive meta. Like trying to play them all day long at a con, I think you would struggle to make it 3 rounds without losing. I think that would happen. But
that's true of every affiliation. I think there's very few that you should go to a con and expect to win all your games with.
I think you would definitely go. I bet you would go at least 50% with them though, because as soon as you got in the losers bracket, I think you would just roll over people who didn't understand what they were doing. So
here's the question for you. Do you think they're a viable dual list build?
I personally do not, but I haven't played them yet.
I guess the only thing I wonder is, I guess when I think duelist, I think some members of the affiliation, some members of the affiliation would also be useful in the other affiliation that you're trying to pair them with. And I guess you just have to decide probably Prime, right? Is the other affiliation you're running really excited about Prime?
Multiple affiliations say okay.
Yeah. And I guess because Prime is just a really good tower. And that's I guess you just have to decide.
Well, I'd like to look at it from this approach. What's the smallest package you would feel good about playing Sentinels with? So you've got to have Prime, probably both of the Little Sentinels, Heimdall, and probably one other character.
Mhm.
So that's 5. And then how many tactics cards are you taking?
That I know are theirs.
Right.
Um,
Specifically theirs. You're doing the flip guy over one.
right.
Is
And
there another one?
I think that was it. I can look at the list again. I was playing Directive 1, but it was not good. I never got a
It's
good win.
situational. I don't think you play it every time. But
Yeah,
honestly, like
online,
there's a lot of people that have defensive mods, and just board
Right.
wide taking away mods is pretty big.
it was 100%. I was playing it to see if it ever got used, but I think it's just if I can tell what my opponent's about to do, it becomes so much better.
I
it's
personally
a great
think it's
card to get
there
something.
exactly to beat the Web Warrior mirror match because you're both playing board control, like
Mm-hmm.
move people around stuff. And so I think it's solely there so you can kill the Web Warriors.
I actually think it's there because of X-Men, because of Storm's leadership, and I know Storm herself. It doesn't ignore Storm herself because she doesn't have stealth technically, but
Well, your
I
shit's
feel like
range
it's
3
actually
anyway. It doesn't really matter.
but I guess what I'm saying.
The problem
it's
I have
not-
is like you don't care if you're playing against X-Men. If you're just saying it's a cute, fluffy card, sure, I guess. But if they're like, oh man, you have cover. Well, I guess I use my cables and then punch you.
Mm.
Guess like it doesn't even make sense like why you would need it.
You would still get cover if you were at range 4 and you pulled them. They're not going to range 2.
Right, but I mean, I'm assuming they were in range 3 for you to attack them in the first place.
Okay, yeah, I
Yeah.
see your point. But then you're spending 2 power to negate cover. I don't think that's good enough. If you're spending 2
Versus
power,
spending
to
2
get other
power to
things-
negate cover.
No, Directive 1 only costs 2 power across your entire list. Like you can
Right.
pick it anywhere. It happens during the power phase.
Is
So
it pick it anywhere or one person spends 2?
no, any
It's
combination of
any
1
can
power.
spend 1. Okay.
So any combination of 2 power from any models. That
Okay.
was a lot better in my opinion.
Sure, that's true.
I liked Directive 1,
I
but
think it's good.
that's a card you wouldn't
You
have to
could
have.
play without it though. Yeah, you
Mhm,
wouldn't
yes.
absolutely need it unless it was like the matchup you were planning on was the deal breaker.
Right.
All right, so you need at least 1 card. What were your restricteds? Patch up.
Follow me and Brace for Impact.
That's very different than normal.
Brace was for the fact that they're size 5, and if somebody does
No,
throw
no,
them,
I understand
terrible.
why you took them. I'm just saying that's not a normal restricted list option. And so you would have to choose a friend affiliation to pair them with that wants Follow Me and Brace, which doesn't not exist, right? Like people want that. It's just not normal. And so you'd have to be careful who you paired them with. So,
Right.
and I also know after building the list with you, it's very specific on what missions it's playing
Mhm.
because it's a scenario-based list. And so you'd have to pair them with somebody who either shares multiple models with them, which isn't hard, but so has at least 3 roster spots and shares 2 models, has room for 1 specific tactics card, probably 2, wants Follow Me and Patch Up, and then also runs those exact same missions. And that's why I don't think it's a good dual affiliation. It's too much has to be their way. They're not flexible on a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
On the other side, I was interested in something I was looking at today. I'm wondering if we're sleeping on Cassandra Nova with Sentinels. Because if the whole point of the list is we want to board control people, she actually does that fairly well.
Yes.
Because she
Yes.
has a range 3, I move you.
I advance you.
Yeah.
Your speed. Yeah.
So it's like better than Enchantress's old thing, because Enchantress can move people at range 3, but it costs 2. She has an attack that's 6-die Mystic that advances them their speed.
Mhm.
And so that's better. It costs an action, but I think it's better. It's definitely better than Enchantress now. She also can be immune to collision, so you can't throw the Sentinels into her.
Mhm.
So it saves Brace a little bit. And she has the Mental Domination card, which is yet more board control. And so I'm wondering if maybe we're sleeping on her a little bit.
I played against her today. It was in the Spider Foes.
Mm-hmm.
Not to give a bat rep, but lined up across from her was Malekith, and she paired with Mysterio. So I will say, fighting into Mysterio and Nova was fucking
Annoying.
yeah. Sure, let's go with that word. Yeah, annoying. Oh my god, you move tricks and traps. You move tricks and traps.
Better or
psychic,
worse than sitting
whatever
on
she's
pineapple.
got. Yeah, they both have take damage when you move, and they both have ways to move you. So, yeah. Now the good news was they both did absolutely shit for damage.
Yeah, they're not
But being
super
moved
damagers.
multiple times and being unable to pin them down, I'll throw you off the point. Like, okay, well, someone else is going to move, and I'm just going to play Tricks and Traps or Psychic Distraction and move back or whatnot. So,
I mean, just logically thinking, if you get in range of Cassandra Nova and don't daze her, she can just walk you out of a charge range of her, because she'll walk you to max range 3, which is attack range, and then she'll walk you another medium move backwards, and so she'll get you out of charge range just on.
What do you mean she'll walk you to max range 3?
Her mental possession mystic attack. If she just for attacking you, she gets to advance you your speed.
Yeah.
So if you
twice,
she'll just hit you twice. So the first advance she'll take you to max range 3, and then the second one she'll just walk you straight back.
Sure.
And so she generates the same problem Hulk does, where he'll just get you out of combat so often that you won't be efficient. The question is, though, can you kill her? And she's much easier to kill than Hulk is, obviously. So
exceptional healing helps with that.
It's true. So exceptional healing. So it puts her down to 6 hit points, and so you have to one-shot her through 6, which is not easy.
Correct. Now my answer was to just power starve her, right? And she did all of her stuff, but had no other effect on the game.
Mm-hmm.
If that kind of makes sense.
She can also, if she has power, she can root and slow you, which is fucking annoying.
Yes, but in between Tricks and Traps and mental possession to walk me, and then eventually spending for her mental domination tactics card.
Yeah.
She got to do a lot of moving Malekith around, but
but
that was about it. So I don't think she does enough for a 5 threat. She's probably overtuned for a 4.
She's definitely overtuned for a 4. The only question really comes down to is, does her board control directly translate to winning? And in a normal list, I don't think it does, but in a scenario-focused list, it might. Like, she does better board control than MODOK. She does better board control than, like, what's a 5-pointer that does better board control than her?
Being able to double walk people is pretty powerful.
Potentially triple walk people with mental domination, right?
No, she moves herself.
No.
Oh, sorry, mental the card. Sorry,
card.
Reactive power.
No.
Yeah.
Now, what I will say is, like, my opponent missed a Tricks and Traps once.
Yeah.
And it happened to be one that he really needed. And so that would just annoy me as a player, right? Okay, I'm going to plan on you moving here, but then I'll play Tricks and Traps or Psychic Distraction, and I'll move back to the point. And for that all to fall apart on I guess it's like a 70-30 odds you get it.
So yeah, I'm just saying in a vacuum, I think we can all agree Cassandra Nova somewhere between 4.5 points.
Yeah.
In the Sentinels list that wants to stand on points and not die and move you off of points, her abilities gain value to where I think she's actually stronger than a 5-pointer. Because if you just read her card, knowing that you're trying to play Sentinels, everything on her card looks awesome. That's exactly the shit you want. And so I'm just saying the synergies might overlap much stronger than we initially thought.
Yeah.
The problem is, we're looking at it from the point of view of we know Cassandra Nova's not good. And so we just moved on. But I think it's more of a she's not what you want. And in this list, she might be exactly what you want. And so I'm looking at Sentinels now. What if your base Sentinel package is 14 points and it's instead of 13, which also fixes a point hole they had where you just couldn't build a 14-point list. And now it's Cassandra Nova Prime and a regular Sentinel. And you're fully affiliated.
I'll let you try it out.
Yeah. Parker, you look like you don't give a shit.
I think the one thing I'll say about it is I stared at her for a long time looking at the card, right? Like she has her own card in Sentinels.
She does?
I can't remember yeah, it's the one that you never remember the name of it because every time I've told you, you go like, what?
Efficient
machines. Yeah.
Like, that's not a card.
Yeah, and it turns all your block results into wild results, which for the Sentinels themselves, it allows
offense.
Yeah, on offense, yeah. So the Sentinels themselves, if they use their spender, which is not hard for them because it costs 3 and they get a lot of power, for every wild they roll, they get to put a effect out, kind of a la Hawkeye, which is pretty cool. And for Cassandra Nova herself, wilds on her basic attack are sap power.
Yeah.
And wilds on her big spender, which is hard to use, but if you did it, it's explosive with push. So like there's it, and it's also reactive during the power phase. You can't stop her from doing it by taking her out early.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also a pulse, so you don't have to stick around her. Like it's just all the models, including her. Like There are lots of reasons why she might be good. My problem was when I put her in the list, I went, okay, now I'm going to build a list of Sentinels with Cassandra Nova. And I was like, okay, I have 3 models. And I'm like,
Yep.
yes, like your model count went down so low, and Cassandra Nova and these 2 other Sentinels were going to have to do so much work. I was like,
Well,
man,
but that's the
how
thing. You're
is that gonna
thinking it
happen?
from the point of I have to do work. You're not trying to kill people. You're trying to win on points.
Right. Even with, I guess, maybe the thing that I don't think about, and this is just because I don't play these kind of affiliations enough,
Right.
is I look at it and I go, but they'll have 4 more, or sorry, they'll have 2 more activations than me. Can't they just move right back? How do I stop them from just moving right back onto the point I just control
You
them off
don't
of?
control models that haven't activated yet. That's like rule 1 of playing control. You wait for them to activate, then you move them off the point.
Right.
Yeah.
But they will have more. I guess I could just pass, and so I'm just counting on
you just
passing
pass.
continuously. So they'll have at least 1 model left. But I don't even, like I said, I don't even think about that when I'm list
Exactly.
construction.
That's what
I
I'm saying. Is like I don't think it's your play style.
Yeah.
Because it's like you don't even think of the game in that way. You're like when you're building your list, you're like, all right, how can I kill everybody? It's like that's the only lens you're looking through. So I don't think you're gonna have a good time with Sentinels. Anyway, this was a pretty good conversation. I think we worked out some kinks here.
Yeah, I stand by my original point. I'm gonna play Hydra. Put some shit.
I played Hydra. Fuck 'em. All right, Aaron, what have you been playing?
I played once in the past week. That was, I guess, twice in the past week. Both my Mystique Brotherhood list.
Nice. You still liking it?
I do. It is definitely not overpowered bunk, but it is interesting. Every game has been really, really tight.
Do you have a trash scale for it?
No.
Oh.
Trash scale is only for tactics cards.
Oh, okay. Are you excited to add Blob to the mix?
Maybe. So my list is really designed around having a small core of Brotherhood and 7 other Cabal models. So everyone always assumes I'm playing Cabal because I have both Cabal tactics cards.
Mm-hmm.
So they just sell out to stop Malekith, and then I don't put Malekith. And I'm like, what the fuck? You even have Brotherhood?
It's the old Black Order conundrum. It's like, well, you sold out to stop Thanos, and he's on the bench, and you're like, fuck.
Yep.
But the problem is, Black Order was a legit choice. But when in old Black Order, I saw you had Thanos Corvus Proxima. I knew that was an option, right? A legit option. People don't even see my Brotherhood option because Mystique is in Cabal, and Juggernaut and Toad are such great splash characters. No one bats an eye at seeing them somewhere else. So when you see Malekith, Hood, Bullseye, Mystique, Dark Reign, Black Bifrost, people are like, oh, I'm getting Malekith. I have yet to put Malekith down.
I think I'm one of the only people who does this. When I read somebody's list, the first thing I do is look for all their leaders. I'm like I'm not getting got. I do it every time, and it's because I do the same thing to people when I build this. I'm like, can I Yankee swap this list and like make it look like it's something else? And I try that shit all the time. And I get a lot of people with it. It's fun.
Yeah. I have played this competitively for about 5 or 6 games, and it has gotten almost everyone. They're like, what?
And it's great because you're both playing below your means. Because I'm playing a very generic, basic list that is just good. It's not crazy. It's just good. But because you sold out to stop the meta and not what I'm playing, your list is also not optimized for this game. And so we're both playing non-optimized games, and I love those games. I love not playing super meta crap. I want to play nice and loose. Like we're just playing some just dudes on tables. Like let's go. Like that's all I want.
Yeah. So I'm gonna take Mystique to Warfare, see how that goes, and then I will swap it up when I get back. Go ahead. Bring it.
This is gonna be out.
Listen to it. Prep. I don't give a shit.
They're all gonna know, Aaron.
I don't care.
Well,
this would be hilarious if we get there and everyone you play is like, "Oh yeah, you're playing Brotherhood." He's like, "No, I'm playing Cabal." He's like, "No, you're playing Brotherhood." Like that would.
Just drop Cabal.
That would be amazing. Yeah. Please do that.
But here's the thing: I would bet that even a savvy player, even like somebody who just notices things, would look at your list and go, "Oh, I guess you could play Brotherhood," and then they would immediately, even though they recognize it, even if you saw it, they would just disregard it, not because.
Yeah, not because that's fairly common. Yeah.
Yeah. Not because you couldn't do it, but because your opponent would go, but my experience tells me that no one plays Mystique's leadership just because
Yeah.
it's this little.
No,
corner
right.
of the
They're
game
not
that
wrong in
from-
assuming you're not playing it, even if they recognize it in advance.
Right.
I don't even have Asteroid M. That's how into the deception I am.
So but you want Asteroid M? You're intentionally leaving it out to try and trick people?
No, I do not actually want it in my list
that's
because I'm
what I
playing with
thought.
so few models
It doesn't
that are
matter.
usually holding objectives. It'll almost never make my 5.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right. Moving on. For me, I don't play games anymore. Moving on. Played 3 games in 3 months. I feel so bad. It's happening though. I actually got to play some games. I got to play the UFS game on Monday, and it felt so good to just like be able to fucking play games on a night again. Oh, it was so great.
I hope that you get to experience that feeling all Warfare weekend long. I hope it's not the opposite, which is I'm going to avoid games at all costs because I don't want to do something I haven't done for a while.
Oh,
But-
that's definitely going to be me.
I don't get that. I don't get how you could get time, which is what you need to play the game, and then refuse because you haven't had time to play the game. That
I
seems
hate
really
doing
anachronistic.
things I'm not prepared for. I actually tried to back out, and Jeremy was like, "Don't back out on me." I was like, "God damn it!" I was like, "I'm not going to be the back out guy." I hate like spending the money to go to a con, knowing that I like haven't practiced because I'm the practice guy. I normally play a shitload of fucking games. I'm always grinding and like I'm always getting practice in. And so I always feel like I'm ready. Like, and if I get beat, I get beat. That's fine. But I want to know that I put the work in to perform as good as I could. That's why I get frustrated when I lose games. People think I'm mad because I lost. I'm mad usually because I lost the game and because I made mistakes. And I made mistakes I shouldn't have made. If I just make mistakes because I didn't know shit, it doesn't bother me. I only get mad when I'm like, fuck, I messed this up, and it's 100% on me. Like, I forgot to play my tactics card, I forgot to activate this guy, I forgot that I was going to lose priority, and I planned that I wasn't going to. I get mad at that shit. I don't get mad. And so, like, when I play games, like when I played this last tournament, I was super frustrated all day because I kept making mistakes. And so eventually I was able to turn my brain off and go like, all right, we're just playing for sillies. None of this matters. I'm going to intentionally try and throw my games to just do fun stuff instead. So I was like, I'm going to throw 12 dice with Ghost Rider just because. Like, I'm just going to do that stuff. And then I started having more fun at the event. And so that's what I'm going to be like all weekend. I'm going to be going, man, I could have won this game, but I'm out of practice, so I didn't. Like, that's what I'm going to be like.
And that's,
so what are you playing in the tag team event?
No idea.
Just pack your entire army, figure it out.
I don't think you understand like how busy I've been. I just unloaded the last of my shit out of my car and loaded up all of the Chiefs gear into my car because we're going directly from Warfare to the Chiefs game. Like, I was talking to my friend Corey from the shop last night, and he was like, "Oh, have you watched, what was it? I think it was the newest season of Demon Slayer." I'm like, "No, I haven't. I didn't know it was out." And he's like, "Oh, we should watch it." I was like, "Yeah, that'd be cool," as a joke. And he's like, "Yeah, what time can you watch it?" I was like, I don't think you understand. I can't watch it. He's like, "Oh, well, like, why not? Why can't we watch it together?" I was like, "Okay, are you free Wednesday morning, this being Tuesday at like 6 p.m.? He's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Next week." And he's like, "Why?" I was like, "That's the next free minute I have scheduled." I was like, I have 0 minutes between now and next Wednesday that I don't have to be doing something else. He's like, "Oh. Yeah, we'll watch it then." I was like, "Fuck off." It's like, we're not going to watch it on Wednesday because I'll have more shit to do by then. So yeah, that's why I don't feel super happy about going to Warfare. I'm excited to go. It'll be nice to have a vacation, but I'm not excited about the games. I'm excited about hanging out.
I always felt really, really good about not going until today. Today, somebody posted something about like signups for a tournament on our Discord, and I immediately went, "I'm not signing up." It hit me immediately. It hit me right then. I was like,
"Yeah, I feel like I need to get practice in and feel comfortable with what I'm doing because I don't want to just go and waste time. Like, it feels like a big waste."
I totally feel that. However, I think if you would have asked me exactly 8 years ago, I would have felt the same way. But now, I like every chance for a game is
right. So
precious.
I know our dynamic is very different because you're desperate for time to play the game, and I'm usually desperate for like quality of
opportunity.
game.
Yeah,
Like I'm
yeah,
traveling for quality of game, not for quantity of game. You're just traveling for quantity, right? It's like
yeah.
you
It
just
just
want a
depends.
weekend where you're allowed to sit down and play games. I
Right.
get it. Like I feel like I'm basically there right now, but I would rather just honestly, I would rather just sit at the game shop all weekend and play games with you guys. Like that's really I would rather do that.
I think it's funny that you say that because even though you're in a similar situation to me, which is you haven't had that opportunity recently, that's not really your lifestyle right now.
Mhm.
You're like you still eventually this too shall
Yeah,
pass.
yeah.
And
No,
you'll have
this
a
is a
chance.
temporary
Whereas
phase.
right, which is for me, I'm waiting for like fucking graduation of my youngest before
Mhm.
I'm looking forward to this kind of
Yeah,
opportunity again.
which is why I like tattooed on my arm. I will never have children, so that I can play games whenever I want.
Right.
Well, whenever you get done with this phase of your life, you want to actually grind some shit out, let me know. Because
Yeah.
I would love to actually grind some shit and get really good at
Yeah.
something in my life for once.
Yeah, I mean, after like all this time, you'd think you'd at least be a good coach.
At least.
That's an inside joke for people. Moving on. We have our main topic today. We're going to attempt to get through the last of these characters. Although now that I look at the clock, there's no fucking way that's going to happen. We've had too many conversations already.
We need to talk about Sentinels. The people needed to know about Sentinels.
Yeah, I mean that's actually more relevant than like sorting leaders, right? Like the
Right.
sorting leaders is kind of the busy work you do in between the fun stuff, and so
Yeah.
we're doing busy work, but we had some fun stuff to talk about. Like so, next
Yeah.
week I was hoping to wrap this up, and next week we just do con wrap up and talk about warfare, but that's not going to happen. So
Oh, I think we could do it. Without that dead weight here.
yeah, without the
Jared.
Captain Deadweight of coughing and adjusting his mic with a sledgehammer every 5 seconds. Anybody's wondering what the banging noise is every 30 seconds? That's Jeremy muting his mic by raising the boom, but he does it by slapping it with his hand instead of just gently grabbing it and pulling it up. And so hopefully he listens to this and he hears me, because this is a heavy criticism, Jeremy. Moving on, our first leader today, we have Nick Fury, or Nicholas J. Fury, Jr. So the leadership is last line of defense. If you have fewer victory points than your opponent the first time each round an allied character is dazed or KO'd by an enemy effect, after the effect is resolved, you score 1 victory point. If you have an equal number or more victory points than your opponent when an enemy character damages an allied character with an attack, the allied character may spend 1 power. If it does, after the attack is resolved, the character may advance short towards the attacking character. So if you're winning or tied, you can spend 1 to use aggressive, and if you're losing and they knock out one of your guys, you can gain a victory point. Super strong, multi-aspect leadership. There's not a lot that have 2 completely different abilities. You guys have both played Nick Fury, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which of these 2 abilities is stronger? The first one, right?
First one.
First one, not close?
But yeah,
Okay.
the first one by far. It's really weird. You would think aggressive on a leadership would be really good, but when you play with it, it's actually the opportunity for it is very rare. Especially considering that even when sometimes when that opportunity is there, you might not be able to if you're already, tied.
Well, the
or,
fun thing is like most models that have aggressive are models that are aggressive in nature, so they want to be engaged, they want to be up close. As we're in this, the people that are shooting at you aren't shooting at your melee monster, especially knowing that you have aggressive. They're shooting at the people that are trying to hide, and so it's like, oh, I don't want to walk toad at you, so fuck. Like it's like I'm going to in fact do the opposite.
It's not the worst leadership, the aggressive one. It's just the opportunity is actually a lot less than you think it might be, in my experience.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So do we have anything we want to talk about this? Let's see. We're in hyper mode. I'm just trying to skip to the rating. Hold on. What are the negatives aspects? Your opponent knows. Your opponent really play around this?
Nah.
You don't think so?
I haven't found that they can.
Can.
The aggressive one's obviously much easier to play around. Like I just said, you just target people that don't want to aggressive. The dazing people thing, there's really not much choice. Like they're gonna have to take out your guys at some point. It's just part of the game.
I lost my game last week because I forgot about leadership and dazed someone round 2. I didn't really have to. Gave him a free leadership point. Ended up tied 16-16 after 5.
Oof.
So that is actually what it is. I think it happens a lot. Is my opponent forgot, and they went because they're just like you said. It's just playing the game, and you're just so used to just attacking to eliminate them off the point or attacking them to pick up their extract. And then when you get a victory point for that, your opponent goes, "Oh shit!" Like it's not that many victory points, but it's enough.
I've talked about this previously, but I I think there's a bit of a different dynamic you should employ against them, where like you're on generally the first round of the game, you're fighting for who's going to win the odd point, right? Like there's 7 points available. Who's going to get the 4? Who's going to get the 3? And so against Shield, I think a lot of people fight really hard to get that extra point and then forget and immediately kill someone on the next turn to tie the game up. And so what I do is just don't fight for the extra point and set up for turn 2. And so that way their leadership isn't active and you can just start fucking killing whoever you want. And so like there's no point. Like if you're just going to get them the 4th control point anyway, just let them have it and stop fighting for it on turn 1 and just set up for turn 2. And so I think that is a little bit of a strategy you can try and employ against them. And there's a lot of opportunities for that in the game. Like when you know you're about to start dazing people, try and daze multiple people in a round. If you can set up like for one big turn where you take out like 4 people, that will dramatically reduce the number of leadership triggers they might have available during the game.
Nope, you're absolutely right.
And so there's a little bit of play around, but assuming that you're already employing those strategies to good effect, then there's not really like when it's time to kill somebody, it's time to kill somebody. It doesn't matter if he's getting a point or not.
It's also once per round.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're looking at the counter and you're looking at your turn and you're like, okay, giving my opponent 1 victory point right now saves me 2 or 3 this round, then you're fine with it. You're just go ahead and do it.
And
so
you can't
if you're super scared of it, then you might lose then.
Yeah, you can't be terrified of it. Like if Black Cat's about to run to the corner of the board with an extract, you need to get her before she gets away, even if she's going to get a victory point now, because she's going to get like 4 throughout the course of the game if you don't stop her. So don't be terrified of it. Just use common sense and do the math and be aware of it.
Aaron, did you find that there was a way to? I found like when I was playing, I couldn't leverage it really. Like I couldn't actively go, I'm going to make sure I get a lot of use out of this. Instead, it was just something that kind of happened while I was playing. Did you feel the same way?
While playing Shield or playing against Shield?
While you were playing them with them.
Yeah, I only played them for like 5 games.
Yeah, he only used the leadership in one of those games.
Probably.
Is it like Asgard's leadership for you?
Yeah.
Probably, to be honest.
For interesting rules mechanic, this leadership was recently heavily errated with the tactics card errata, where if a character plays tactics card, it is resolving the effects. And so if it says in the leadership, if they were dazed or KO'd by an enemy effect, previously apparently, if you had killed them with like the psychic shockwave, that didn't count. So I believe that you can put bleed on somebody, and when they get dazed, it doesn't trigger because bleed's not an enemy effect.
Correct.
It's just a game effect. So you can also set it up to where maybe if you leave people on 1, just get bleed on them and leave them alone. Or use the Terrigen Clouds to drop damage on them from space. So that being said, where does this fall? We got quality of life, efficiency, blitz, control, gimmick, meta bender.
What is Sam's?
Meta bender.
That's meta bender. This isn't quite on that level.
Yeah.
But it's very similar.
I would say quality of life because you're not really planning on being down, and so when you do get down, it helps you back in, so it's nice. But you're not really planning on using that for the most part. And then the aggressive is just nice because that way it can get you into position. Right?
Especially if it's like a repulsor beam pushes you off and does damage, you're like, cool, yeah.
I'm gonna go meta bender. So hear me out for 20 seconds, and then you can vote against me.
We're already over time, Aaron. We can't afford that.
Okay, just vote now.
Okay, go ahead.
Now, so there are the 2 highest win rates in the game right now are Sam, Avengers, and Shield.
Well,
Shield's really good.
Thought we were doing bingo next week or whatever.
Preview. There's a preview.
Okay, preview. Go ahead.
A lot of it's because I think the early extract lead can set you up for the game in terms of a commanding scenario advantage that forces your opponent to react into you. Shield can completely negate that entire strategy, which is kind of what I'm trying to do with Mystique. So specifically into me, but into the game writ large. Shield can absolutely plan on going down turn 1/2. And with the right attrition list, steal all of that momentum turn 3 to walk away with a victory. I think it's a really solid Shield game plan, and they leverage the leadership to do so.
Okay. Are you counting that? See, the problem I have with leadership is I don't think the leadership's very good. I think it's actually bad. The problem is the grunt mechanics are so strong and it synergizes so well with the leadership that it works amazingly well. Kind of like Magneto. Like Magneto's leadership in a vacuum would be shitty, but because it's on Magneto, it's great. Because he has the ability to trigger it every fucking round all day. And so if Nick Fury just wasn't a grunt character and they didn't have access to a grunt easily, this would be a very different situation. But because they have, in my opinion, the best grunt in the game on their leader, it's a completely different conversation. Because you have to kill that guy because they can pick up the extraction and just run away with it forever. And there's no counterplay. You just have to kill them and give them the victory point.
Sure.
And so it's kind of a combination.
I wish there was a affiliation defining, not like a meta defining, because I don't think the meta is scared necessarily of what Shield does. I don't think that exists. Maybe I'm just not scared of what Shield does. But it is 100% true that like this leadership completely changes the way you can play the game, and it's not what you think. Like you just said, a lot of people look at Shield and they go, "Oh, they're a fantastic scenario faction." I go, "Oh, no, they're a fantastic attrition faction." You just get this really cool, really hard to describe until you see it happen buff the entire time you are trying to attrition.
My argument for quality of life is they're a forgiving faction. Everything about this leadership makes the affiliation very forgiving to mistakes. Like, oh, I messed up and I didn't get this point. My opponent got it from me. Well, doesn't matter. Here's your point back refunded. Like, you're going to split the difference. You both get a point. Or like, hey, like you got attacked and you're out of range. Like, well, now you get to move into range. So that's what I'm feeling. I'm not saying I'm right. That's my opinion.
I'm going to take your point and change my vote to Aaron's. That's meant to find it because I'll tell you why. This is a real true game softener for a whole affiliation. Like a real game softener. I like the way you put it, which is you just describe what a game softener is, right? It just makes the game easier.
It just makes the game easier because you're not punished for your mistakes.
Right. So I think I'm going to change mine to Metabender because you're just playing an easier game because you picked this affiliation. So yeah, I'm going to pick
Why is that metabending though? Like in my opinion, how about this? In my opinion, this leadership does not change the meta at all. Because the most important rule Nick Fury has is parent character, not leadership, last line of defense. That's why it's not a metabender for me. The second most important thing on this guy's card is his leadership. As where Sam's card could be blank and he sees the table, right? Like, it doesn't matter. All they care about is leadership. Like, that is not how people play Nick Fury or S.H.I.E.L.D.
So I disagree with you a little bit there. I think leadership's better than you're giving credit for. While conceding you have very valid points.
Yeah.
So I agree meta bending is wrong, but it's game altering. Kind of in what you're talking about there, Parker. I don't know about game softening, but it alters how your opponent's allowed to interact with the game state.
How about this, Parker? Take this leadership, put it on Cap. The new Cap, World War II Cap, that's a S.H.I.E.L.D. Cap. Put it on him. Does anyone play S.H.I.E.L.D.?
Like if Nick Fury's not in the game and it said it's him?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
No, no one's playing that affiliation.
It's because
Nick Fury's fucking crazy strong, and then he has a cool leadership.
Okay.
As where Sam's the opposite. You can put Sam's leadership on any model in the game, that model gets played.
Okay. I guess it belongs to quality of life then, I guess. But man, that's close. I think it's quality of life up there with things like Black Bolt and Malekith. They're just like, wow, these are really good.
Yeah, exactly. Like Black Bolt's leadership is a huge game softener because you just get to spread the power wherever the fuck you want it.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Next up, we have Green Goblin. This leadership was errated, so if you have the original card, that's why it doesn't match. Oscorp weaponry. Once per turn, when an allied character is attacking during the modified dice step, it may reroll one of the opponent's defense dice. Oh boy, did this create issues online. All right, so rule-wise, I don't know that we still know how the reroll mechanic works on who's rolling the die and when it's able to be rerolled. It's clearly good. Like, rerolling the specific defense die you want to is huge because you can stop stuff like energy absorption, crits. You get to
any cool defensive ability like martial artist.
The thing that a lot of people don't think about in the moment is it's after defensive dice mods. Because you mod the opposing player's dice after they mod their own dice. So it works really well against people who have dice mods. because they don't get to mod it after you change it. And so they do all their tricky reroll shit, and then you're rerolling their dice again, which just hard negates all the shit they did.
And this works after cover as well, correct? Like
yes, after all defensive dice mods have happened, this happens. And so if you have like Rocket, now he's not guaranteed blocking one. Mm-hmm. He's like, okay, mod for cover, I'll reroll it, so you don't have cover. Like,
and defensive dice have a less quality chance.
They're 3/8. Yeah,
right. So it's one of the cool things about them is when you look at a reroll like on Shadowlands Daredevil, you're like, this is so good, I get to reroll, and you're like, but your reroll, is it worth less damage over time than this one is? Is that right?
For what?
Yes.
The X-Force one?
Yeah.
Far less. Yeah. This is far superior to the X-Force reroll.
Right. Like, yeah, X-Force is the better one because Shadowlands Daredevil is on every attack.
Right.
You can
it is once per turn. It's the mirror of X-Force, but it's just strictly better. So the thing a lot of people don't think about is like, they're like, oh, so it's like rerolling an attack die because it's one die. It's not. Rerolling the attack die is a 50% chance to generate a hit. Rerolling the defense die is a 5/8 chance to cause a failed block. So it's more efficient, 1. It deletes dice mods, 2. So you're negating your own opponent's abilities. And so like, if you've got the auto cover or something like that, you're getting a guaranteed block effectively. This is deleting the guaranteed block and just making them roll the die, which is awesome. But after all of their special reroll stuff too, it's really good, but also you can target reroll specific things. And so like target rerolling wilds that like block extra and stuff like that is huge. If you can get stuff like Incinerate on them, it's even better. So the average block, we just look at it in the base statistics, is 3/8. If you have a 3 defense dice, that's averaging 9/8, which means you're blocking a little over 1 per block before crits. Well, if we're re-rolling the one that blocked into a 3/8, your new block is 4/8, not 9/8. Like you're blocking less than 1 instead of blocking more than 1. It's a huge change to the math because it happens after everything else. It is hugely underrated. This is like statistically, it's hard to put into words because of the order of operations on everything. It is so much better than people think it is. It's almost like once per turn cause a damage to your target. It's almost that good.
Yeah. And
you get to see all the dice before it happens, including their mods. Like you get perfect knowledge on when you use it.
It does so much work. Also, it's really demoralizing for an opponent. Somehow, when you re-roll your offensive dice, your opponent goes, "Okay, that makes sense. You took characters that are more efficient at attacking." But when they roll their defense dice, and you're like, "Okay, re-roll that one success," they're like, "Ugh."
Yeah.
It feels so much worse to have your model told no than see your opponent's model do something it's supposed to do. It's something really demoralizing about that. It takes a lot of character to just let your opponent keep doing an extra damage to you every time you roll your dice. It's ugh.
I don't think there's any downside to this. It's just good. It just has a ceiling because it's only 1 die per turn.
Mm-hmm.
So there is one downside compared to the rerolling attack dice, and that's if your defending player rolls 3 blanks, which is not unrealistic.
Sure,
you cannot increase the damage on that roll that you could with rerolling your attack die.
Right.
But the same is true if you roll all hits. Like, if you roll maximum hits, you can't reroll your attack dice for successes either.
You are correct. I would say that the percentage chance of rolling no blocks is higher than the percentage chance of rolling all successes.
That's true, but again, it's only once per turn, so it'd have to be on all of your attacks that turn they block 0.
I was just throwing it out there for food for thought. True. But I agree with you. There's
better. There's actually another one. It's both good and bad. So it's reroll once per turn. It's not once per character per turn. The effect works once per turn. So if you can attack on your opponent's turn with stuff like Sabretooth and Venom's abilities, you get the reroll on that turn too. But if you do an extra attack on your turn, like you do Follow Me, that's 1 turn. And so Follow Me, you still only get the leadership once. And so it's a plus and a minus. It's literally once per turn.
Yeah, everybody who can do an attack on your opponent's turn gets more mileage out of this.
So good,
and that mileage is sincere. It is so mean.
Mm-hmm.
When your opponent has 3 health left and they go, "Oh shit, I cannot move close to Heimdall. Like, I can't kill anyone. Winter Soldier's right there. Like, I could die." And it's so real.
So, Aaron, I think this is the way it ended up working. Venom can re-roll enemy attack dice, but they cannot re-roll enemy defense dice, but they can't re-roll their own defense dice. I think that's where it landed last I looked at it.
Correct.
Okay.
Push the accept button and move on.
Right. So the math on that is even better because they're getting 0 mods, including cover, and then you're changing one of their successes. And so he is so efficient in this attack. Not to mention he's also applying bleed on his basic attack. Like Venom's basic attack is maybe the best basic attack in the game of anything short of a 7-pointer in this affiliation.
Yeah, pretty strong.
All right, so let's rate it. I would put it in Blitz because the whole point is to get I guess you could say efficiency, but you could argue everything's efficiency. The whole point is to get an attrition advantage.
I would say it's consistent attrition.
Yeah, it's not particularly
Right,
better early. That's fair.
Yeah.
Nope.
But in attrition in general, like you're trying to get them into a death spiral kind of thing where like they have less models and you have more models. Like, I don't know. I'm not arguing against efficiency. I'm fine with either. I'm just saying I would put it in Blitz. I just see Blitz as more of an aggressive category.
I think it's efficiency because specifically it even does better when you're taking damage and stuff too. Like it's like you're okay with getting hit for a lot of, because you're attacking back. For a lot of the models, they attack back when they get hit and things like that. I think it's efficiency.
I'll put in efficiency. And now, the moment everyone's been waiting for 3 weeks while we've been rating leaders. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the worst leader in the game, Scott Summers. I love this model because he's so aggressively the worst leader in the entire game. It's not even close.
I really want to argue with you, but I
Okay.
have self-respect, so I won't.
X-Men Blue. Blue because he's sad, right? Once per turn, first restriction. When an allied character declares an attack action, but before he chooses an attack, any number of allied characters within range 3, second restriction.
Yeah.
The attacking character may spend, or of 3 of the attacking character may spend 1 power. For each power spent this way, so it's only 1 power each, so there's another restriction. For each
Well,
one power
let me
spent
finish
this
it for
way,
you.
reduce the power cost of the attacking character's attack by 1 to a minimum of 1 for this attack action. So the minimum one was the 4th, and then the attack action is the 5th. So it has to be an attack action, not a generated attack.
Hey, Parker?
Yep.
If you take a look at 90% of the character cards in the game, and we're able to delete 1 paragraph and still retain the same power level, what paragraph would you delete?
What? Okay, explain.
Right.
So I'll explain what he just asked you. If you delete his leadership, is he better or worse?
No.
I actually argue he's better.
Here's my point. Of everything you do with a character, like take a look at a character card, Cassandra Nova, right? We just talked about her. Like, she has a builder, she has a possession ability, she has a spender, she has tricks and traps, she has I can't be killed with collisions, right? She's got 5 things she can do on her card.
Yeah.
Maybe 6. What's the one that you could drop from her card and probably not blink an eye?
Flight.
I'm going to say stealth.
The spender.
The spender. Oh, yeah.
Drop the
spender.
She doesn't
fucking
have the
spender.
power.
No one gives a shit.
Oh, right.
90% of the models in the game could lose their spender, and you'd still probably play them.
Yeah, there.
So now I have a leadership that says you can transfer power to use the worst ability on your card. That's what his leadership actually says.
It's so bad, though. Like, have you ever, like, I know you built a list, but, like, Parker, have you ever even tried to play this leadership?
I sat down because this is one of those.
Did you play it in a game? That's my only question.
No, God, no.
Yeah. So even you, who is the biggest Scott Summers fanboy I've ever met, has never even bothered to put it on the table. And Aaron, I know for a fact the only reason you did it was to prove people wrong.
Sure.
How'd that go?
I think I lost.
Okay. So this is the fucking worst thing I've ever seen. This is aggressively bad. It was clearly just a mistake in game design. I think they were overly concerned that it would be too strong because the concept of throwing infinite spenders every round would be a big deal. Like, that would be a problem. I admit that would be a problem. But, man, they aimed so low to make sure it wasn't broken.
Here's the thing,
so
Brandon.
Low.
Here's the thing, Brandon. You say that out loud, like because you're desperately hoping they had a good reason for this, but I don't think it is. Like, what?
No, I think they did. I think they played it where it was just you could share power for spenders, and they were like, "Nope, that's not okay."
But
It's
the
like
thing is,
Hulk smash every action.
but I don't think maybe Hulk Smash is an exception, but I think there's only a few models in the game that would feel that egregious because one, your spinner does not get you power back unless you're doing a very certain subset of
I
spinners.
mean,
Like
I can just tell you.
Sabretooth,
Yeah.
like Sabretooth Spinner would maybe one of them that you would be like, oh my god, we cannot let Sabretooth
But it's
Spinner
it's
go
not
off
about
every
getting the
attack.
power back though. Like it's about killing people before they get to do anything. Like what
Right,
happens
but
when Punisher just headshots as every action he takes in the entire game? That's a problem. Like he's just like dazed, your turn.
But I don't think that's not what he does. He rolls extra dice. He rolls 8 dice.
It's 7
Like,
die
that's-
pierce attacks. That only costs 3
Cool.
power.
Cool. I mean, right now X-23 functionally does that in Shadow.
Not at range 5.
Sure. Okay, so when she starts her turn, she can no matter the cost and do it at range 3. And like what I'm saying is those things functionally already exist in the game. And she's getting power for doing all this, and she's moving and attacking, and I don't. There are probably, like you said, Hulk Smash. I think is a good indicator. I think there are a few others that I would like. Oh yes, I would definitely build a list around getting to do my spinner all the time. But I think that's odd. I think that's like the exception because most spinners are the wrong choice most of the time. There's only a few exceptions that you're reaching for the spinner. That's the reason you took the model.
I don't know why you guys hate spenders so much, but I mean, yeah, you shouldn't just automatically use your spender when you have exactly enough power to use it. Like, there's situations to use the spender and situations to not. But like, you act like they're bad. Like, they're not bad. They're objectively better than most things you can do. It's just like, is it worth the power spending? And that's a question. It is definitely not always correct. And so yeah, but you guys act like it's like, well, you've lost the game because you used your spender. It's like, well, maybe if you're just a dumbass.
Because here's the problem: when you spend no power, and you attack somebody with a 5 dice builder, and you do no damage, you didn't spend any value. But when you spend 4 power and you do 1 damage, that's just a terrible trade, right? It's a horrible trade, and unless you have a spender that's actively fixing dice or adding other effects like Sabretooths, like
let me tell you though,
Visions, like Hulks, like there are some that are that good, but if your spender just does damage, if that's what it does, like your example of Punisher, it's a terrible idea unless you were just overflowing with power, like Punisher does because he's using his other attacks. Continue, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say you don't have to worry about overspending power on this guy because all of his abilities suck. Right. No, I'm just kidding. He's actually like what I actually wanted to see that happen when they were doing the first wave of updates to characters. I wanted him to lose a hit point on both sides and go to 3 points.
Who's that?
Cyclops.
Okay,
he has 6 on both sides. I think. If
I thought we were talking about Punisher.
Yeah, if we went to 10 on both sides, Punisher only has 6 on one side. If we went to 10 total hit points, he could easily be a 3-point character. I think that would have been good. Now, his leadership would still be the worst in the game, but it would be less annoying because you could afford to play him and he wouldn't be trash. Like, this is probably the worst 4-pointer in the game, and the only reason it might not be is because Gamora exists, right?
She's not that bad.
Elektra
right, but Gamora is actually good if you can get her to close range and she's doing her job and doesn't ever get attacked. She's fine. Like
Elektra's on the list. That's the problem.
Elektra is also on the list. That's true. But she has a grunt though. The grunt's worth a point. Like she's really only a 3-pointer.
Yeah.
But we're not talking about him. We're talking about leadership.
The leadership. This is unquestionably the worst leadership in the entire game. It's not close. It's not even comparable with anything else. It's also like the most complicated leadership in the entire game. Like it's got 5 restrictions on it for no reason whatsoever.
It's and also then, like I said before, like Aaron mentioned, it's 5 restrictions to do something that might be bad.
Yeah, it's like, and even if it was completely unrestricted, it wasn't once per turn. It didn't have a maximum share range of 3. It wasn't capped at 1 power per person. It wasn't minimum 1 by the attacking character, and it wasn't required to be an attack action. It still may be good. Like we're not even sure if that's good. Like
yeah,
it's definitely not busted. Like that's what you guys are arguing. I think it'd be strong, but like. It's just crazy. It's just absolutely crazy to me that they printed this. And like the only thing I can think of is like it was that and it went into testing and someone was like, dude, this is broken. You got to fix it. And it was like last minute. It was going to the printer and they just like make it not broken. And they did that. Like it's not broken now. Gimmick. I don't know. Is this a gimmick? Sharing power for spenders only. We put.
I thought there was a trash. I thought there was a trash.
There's no trash category.
Oh.
We put Black Bolt under quality of life. It's definitely a quality of a life leadership. It's just negative quality of life.
Yeah, I'm just like, it's not. Is it a gimmick?
I think it's I would be fine with gimmick, but a lot of the gimmicks are just completely abstract things.
Right. Even this one, like I said,
I think it's supposed to be quality of life. It just doesn't work. It's just so bad.
Either that or Blitz. Like, I really like Punisher. If I was going to design a list,
you don't have the power to spend to make it a blitz.
You do on turn 1.
You can do like what? Everyone huddles together and you do 1 optic devastation on researcher. It's like, I did it, guys.
No, Punisher walks up and shoots
1
someone with the 7 dice. Like, you want to take the middle, you're going to get 7 dice to the face.
Yeah,
and then you realize Juggernaut does that with no leadership, and you're like, oh, okay. So it's not good.
I'm gonna put it under quality of life. It's just like quality of living. It's just very low quality of living. It's like this house is condemned. Yes, that is Cyclops the leader.
I have no argument.
So I'm putting him here. Can you guys take a moment and think of the best spenders in the entire game? Just take a minute. Scroll through the character list if you need to.
That's what I've been doing this entire time.
And you're like, who?
What?
I really think it's the most cost effective. That's why Punisher is so good, because it only costs 3, range 7, stun, and slow. So if I can take your tentpole character that's not immune to stun, right, and then stun them turn 1 with my walk medium range 5, that's not nothing. I'm not sure you'll find a better candidate than Punisher for a turn 1 Summers play.
The only thing I can think of is just super gimmicky stuff like Daredevil, Devil's Deliverance, like AoE 2 infinitely stacking dice. And you're like, I just need to get him here, and my opponent wasn't expecting it because normally you can't do it on the second turn.
Here's one. Astral Strike off of Ancient One.
It's not bad.
It has the crit trick, and it automatically gives stagger if you do damage.
Right, and so it's the crits don't work, and if you deal damage, it's staggered. The problem is it's range 2, so you can't even do it on the first turn.
Right.
So it's like you're doing it on the second turn, so it's not even like that gimmicky.
Yeah.
Because she could just pay for it herself at that point because she gets 2 power.
Yes, you're correct.
I think Daredevil might actually be the best option. But if you just do Devil's Deliverance as every attack he ever makes, AoE 2, add 2 dice for each enemy in the range, and then they're pushed short.
Move long because he can't. So he doesn't do that turn 1, right? How do you get in there turn 1? I don't know, but
you could place him with like Lockjaw or something. Oh
there
no,
you go.
You could use Cyclops to field leader.
Oh, that's right. He actually has a movement thing on him. Yeah.
Field leader. Spend 3. Choose an ally within 4. They advance short.
Yeah, so he needs 3 power with advanced R&D.
No, still can't get there.
Like, how?
So bad.
How is it going to do anything?
Man, yeah, there's not good ones. Penance Stare's okay. Like, what if you could just Penance Stares every attack? If it was board wide, no restrictions, just everyone gives Ghost Rider their power. That might be annoying, because he could drive wherever he wants, and then just blow people up. That would be hard. That would be hard to deal with. Because when he hits you, you don't even have power back for it, right?
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't seem that good. So let's move on. Next up, we have in the same box, Storm. If only we had a good X-Men leader.
Well, they averaged well. How about that?
Yeah. Well, that's what I was saying. Is like if they just switch the leaderships, because Storm's a good 3-pointer just on her own. She's not amazing, but she's good. So they just switch the 2. I thought it would be balanced because Cyclops is a subpar 4-pointer with a great leadership, and then she would be a above average 3-pointer with a bad leadership. Like, that'd be fine.
Sure.
X-Men Gold. Once per round, you may use this leadership during an allied character's activation if it is not holding an objective token. If you do, choose... What the fuck? Did I just read that horribly? Once per turn, you may use this leadership during an allied character's activation if it is not holding an objective. If you do, choose an allied character within 2 of the active character. Place this character within 1 of the chosen character. Additionally, when an allied character is targeted by an attack and the attacker is not within range 2 of the allied character has cover. It's really good. The placement ability is huge. you need to be careful to not pick up the objectives with the wrong characters, because you need to have a plan going in who's generally going to be using this. Like a big character like Thanos or Hulk or somebody like that is great. Ghost Rider's good with it. Remember, it's a front to back play, so the base width of the model is added to the move, and so large base models move really far. You can also use it to back up, so if you just, like, the first turn, you can hop forward, shoot people. Next turn, you shoot them, then hop back. And so you can get out of range that way. It's kind of fun. And then just cover on everybody is really good.
That's one of the things I was going to mention, is that it sounds like a really great way to take the initiative, and it does. It enables movement tech for so many guys with 0 power, Jesus. But then at the same time, later in the game, when you need to move somebody laterally to go get a point and you need a little extra space, or they push you, but they just happen to push you within range of, one of your guys, well, now it doesn't matter because they're just coming back. Like, it's so hard for your opponent to play around this easily. It's so hard because of how many things it can do. The place effect. And then also, +1 health every time you get shot. Like, oh shit.
Yeah.
I personally feel X-Men are a top 5 affiliation, and it's because of the leadership.
Yeah.
It is really good.
I remember when this came out, and I was like, I just don't want to play against X-Men anymore. This is clearly broken. It's going to get fixed. Like, it was so
2 years later.
annoying. I can't believe they never adjusted it. This leadership is fucking crazy. Like, if it was just the movement ability, it would still be good. If it was just the cover, it would still be good.
They should change it to
insane.
The movement should be once a game, and then gain cover. Fair and balanced. Ship it.
You know what's really funny about this? I feel like this is one of those leaderships that's so good, you can't print models. Like,
yeah, it restricts the affiliation.
No, not just the affiliation, like kind of the game. Like, there's some times when you're like, oh shit, can this model exist if Storm's in the game still? Like, I feel like that's possible. You think about, can you ever print another super killy husband-wife pair, right? Where you get to do that? Like, I don't.
Yeah, what if they printed like 2 models that work really well together, that were really efficiently pointed, and like they were hugely advanced for jumping over each other and moving around and getting cover at a distance? God, that'd be really brutal if they printed X-23 and Honey Badger.
Right, but at least X-23 and Honey Badger can't activate each other completely take. I know. It's still really good, right? It's.
Well, also, like, part of the problem we had was people didn't know what the term round meant. And so we had people hopping every turn, and it was absolutely broken.
Well, yeah, that's kind of stupid.
It was like, okay, well, I move here. This guy moves here. I was like, this is not okay. I was like, and then we found out they were just cheating. I was like, okay, well, that's a little bit more reasonable now, but it's still quite strong. All right. I think this is in meta benders.
I don't disagree.
Cannot not be in meta benders.
Yeah. Storm's leadership has been driving the balance of the game for a long time. Moving on, we have Black Panther. Another great leader. Oh, good. There's only 90 characters with black in their name. Jesus Christ. All right. This was also errated. This was part of the cleaning up when dice mods happen thing. While an allied character is attacking, defending, or dodging during the modified dice step, you may spend 1 power. If you do, reroll 1 of your dice. Super versatile, super efficient, super good. Not overpowering, just good.
I disagree.
I think it's fairly taxing.
I think it's actually bad.
I think bad's a stretch.
I'm going to stick with it.
I think
so.
People will play it and they'll overuse it, and that is bad. I think knowing when it's worth a power is kind of like a skill thing, like it's an experience thing. So using it at the right time, I think, is super efficient. Primarily, it's like, okay, well, I'm going to take the odds that I get. I'm going to spend a power here to reroll an attack die when I'm already exceeding his blocks, and it's a good chance I'll just get my power refunded anyway, and I'll also daze him if I succeed. Like, that's a great time to spend it, right? I'm about to die anyway. Let's spend the power and like try and not die here.
I want to know why Aaron thinks it's actually a bad idea. I'm curious.
So it was when I first started playing, I had not read any comics, never have, just MCU, and I enjoyed the Wakandan and the Asgardian movies, and they were small affiliations that I could buy into and kind of stick my toe into the game. So I did. I bought all of Wakanda, all of Asgard and all of Wakanda. Played them both. And I could never get my head wrapped around Wakanda because, now granted, 10-ish, maybe 15 games might be a small sample size, but I can't tell you how many games I ended up just completely power starved, especially with people like Panther, who love to use his power to do all his crazy shit, because I kept spending rerolls, not stupidly, not when I had 2 hits into 5 blocks, randomly rolling a dice. So I wasn't wasting power. But also, to your point, probably not experienced enough to know when it wasn't worth it, right? So my problem was I'd do my thing. Oh, I could do an extra damage. 50% chance I get the power refunded. Go ahead, do it. And then realize next turn, I don't have enough for both Mantle and Pounce.
Right.
So I'm sure I would enjoy the leadership more now than I did then, but it was really off-putting to be starving myself of power.
Yeah.
Which is something the leadership can lend you towards.
Yeah, I definitely see that. It is certainly possible that you get on, especially a bad train of results, and then you become confirmation bias. So it's like, well, I spent 5 power and got 0 out of it. It's like, this leadership sucks. Like, yeah, it is definitely not that. We thought it was really good when it first came out. We were like, wow, this is really strong. But yeah, it's not amazing. It's definitely not better.
Compare that now into all the stuff that gives you rerolls. Even X-Force, one of the relatively bad leaderships out there, potentially. They get a free reroll 5 times a turn. So if we're going to pick and choose our...
round, right?
What?
You mean...
Yeah, 5 times a round, sorry.
Yeah,
if we're going to pick and choose with Wakanda where we use our rerolls, we're not just going to use them every chance we get. We might be looking at about 5 a round.
Well, yeah, but they can only roll attack rolls.
I agree. Yeah. There are limitations. But I guess my point is you're going to take 5 rerolls in Affiliation A or Affiliation B, and Affiliation B you have to spend for them. Affiliation A you don't.
Well, yeah, but in Affiliation B you have to, or in Affiliation A... No, yeah, Affiliation B, you have to pay for cable. It's a different conversation.
Just talking about the leaderships here, man. Just the leaderships.
Well, you can't just talk about the leadership. Dormammu's leadership's real good. Let's put that on Toad. Come on.
And we said the leadership was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we can talk about the leaderships because that's kind of the conversation we wanted to have. We've talked about the models. I think that the Black Panther spending 1 power thing is only useful, I think, for those characters that you see flushed with power. Like Hawkeye, for example, loves this power because it finally gives him a way to just make his attacks much stronger when he's always got so much. He's got power for days. He doesn't do anything with it, right? So if you have a character that you're playing often and you always find that they're using every bit of their power, well, you're really not going to see them shine in this team affiliations leadership. You're not going to see them do great things. But if you ever have characters just sitting there with tons of it, like Sin, Hawkeye, there's a handful of these guys that just that you see play, but they don't do anything with their power. They're going to feel so good with this because you get offense and defense. You're going to get so much out of it.
I think it's actually really good when combined with people that already have dice mods of their own. And so when you're combining it with other stuff, it gets a lot better. For example, if you mantle the Black Panther, you can first spend 1 for your reroll, or after your full reroll, do it again to try and max out those really particularly important rolls. Obviously, you can't combine it with another leadership, but taking Miles, for example, with Spider Senses in there, well, now he's getting yet another reroll on top of it. That's getting him to the level that he's actually becoming very consistent. And so that's a different conversation as well.
Yeah, folks like Zemo become really cool because you're like, oh Jesus, when is Zemo's dice ever going to fail? Well, never, because he's always sitting on some power. So.
And while Zemo can always spend power, but usually what he's spending on is Counter Strike, which is generally not really that good of a rule, just because it's so inconsistent. So if he's just instead spending it on all of his attacks, then that's huge. Because he can Steel Rush, Strategic Genius, Wakanda leadership, he's rerolling 5 attack dice per attack. He's just so consistent.
If your Zemo is dying with only 1 power left on him, something went horribly wrong. And there are lots of characters.
Well, it's usually because people get too greedy and do Steel Rush repeatedly.
Yeah. And
you just got to keep doing the strike.
Yeah.
All right. So where are we putting this? Quality of life? Because I know Aaron's not going to say efficiency.
It's definitely not efficiency. I think
it's absolutely quality of life. It's good when you have extra power sitting around somehow or something like that.
Yeah.
I think it's the low end of that spectrum, but it's quality of life. Would you agree, Aaron?
Well, it's not. He's not at the bottom because Cyclops is at the bottom.
I agree with
Low-
both of you.
Yeah, low end.
Mm-hmm. He has a friend.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's gonna wrap us leader talk for us today. So we'll move on. Parker, do you have a comic corner for us?
Yeah. So, my comic corner today, I just realized I pulled it out and I didn't check it against all the other comic corners I've ever done.
You've
so
already done it.
I was like, have I ever done this one? I don't.
We don't
think
have to. We can move on. We don't have to.
No,
comic
I
corner.
didn't. I didn't
Okay.
think I ever could, but I didn't look at the list. I always do, so I've double
Okay.
checked. So during the Marvel Civil War event, where it's been made famous by the MCU movie, Captain America and Iron Man had this big falling out. Iron Man thought that superheroes should be registered and affiliated with a governmental agency, have oversight. Captain America felt it was a violation of civil liberties. What was totally left out of the MCU was the inciting incident in the comic book universe. Like, why would they ever need to or feel like they need to do this? Well, in the comic book universe, it was actually caused by a group of reality TV show superheroes, so some like B-list superheroes, who started a reality show where they went around fighting crime, and they fought a mutant named Nitro in this, smaller town in the Midwest, and Nitro exhibits way more power than he's ever had. He has the power to explode parts of his body, and he exhibits way more power than he's ever had. Clearly, it was a setup because he explodes, takes out most of the town, and vaporizes the heroes. And so the Civil War rages after that because in the aftermath of this event, people are wondering, like, should superheroes have more oversight, and then the rest of the schism happens. Well, if you follow the Wolverine titles, so the titles with the title of Wolverine and specifically the Civil War issues, which you can get a graphic novel that's just Civil War Wolverine, you get to find out that while everyone else forgot about Nitro because they were so embroiled with this conflict and choosing sides, Wolverine said, "Fuck your sides! I don't care about sides. I'm gonna go kill Nitro. Like, I'm gonna go find out one, because he's a mutant. Like, one, we're gonna find out he has to have justice for this, but two, we got to find out how he got all this power because he's never had all this power before." So it's a super amazing, like, Wolverine is a hunter, right? That's the thing. He's supposed to be a tracker. The super senses, the tenacity, the stamina. That's the thing he's supposed to do is go to ground and hunt the bad guy and find him and do what he does best, right? Which is just mutilate everyone he sees. Also, if you've ever wondered, like, what does it look like when Wolverine gets completely, like, demolished? Like, what happens when his body gets absolutely demolished and he comes back? This comic actually answers, like, biologically what happens to him when he is almost completely thrashed. And also it answers the question psychologically. Like, what happens when functionally he's brain dead? Like, he is dead. What does that do to Wolverine's psyche when he is, functionally dead for however long it takes his mutant power to bring him back to life, right? So, what does he experience when he's dead? And what does that feel like? This comic also answers that. So not only is it a great, just like kind of a prototypical Wolverine as a hunter, it's set in the backdrop of this huge Marvel event, which, if you know anything about the rest of it, is kind of fun to see, like, what this little bitty piece of it is, like how Nitro's, the problem of Nitro, quote unquote, is resolved. And on top of this is this really interesting, just kind of almost like offhanded but fascinating answers to some of these questions about Wolverine as a character and the way his powers work and the way he himself deals with the nature of his powers, which is he throws himself in the most dangerous situations and he often dies quite literally. So what does this do to him over time? Really, really cool comic. One of my favorite Wolverine comics ever.
Cool. Well, that's going to wrap it up for us today. Thank you guys for tuning in. Hopefully you had a good time. This has been Brandon.
And Parker.
And Aaron.
And you've just listened to I Ain't Afraid of No Ghosts.
So what are we going to call this thing?
I got it. Okay.
incredible, new, fantastic, astonishing, mighty, original, uncanny, sensational podcast.
I'm just gonna put down Infamous.
All right.
Here we go. So, Aaron, do you still want to buy all my War Machine models?
$6.
God damn it. I think that's lower than you said last time. Are you excited for Warfare, Aaron?
I am excited for Warfare. Taking my kid out of school for Friday and Monday.
Nice.
2.5 full days of gaming. What's not to get excited for?
They're not doing that COVID stuff, right? Like, we don't have to bring Vax cards
Great question.
I do
before
not
I
think so.
leave my house in the morning and don't have a Vax card.
I don't think that's on the list of things.
Yes,
Yes, what? Yes, they do, or yes, they don't.
they do. Requiring all attendees to show proof of vaccination or negative test for attending the show.
Oh.
I am so glad you said something so I can grab my cards.
It's just such a hassle.
Is it though? Like,
Yeah.
what's the?
I don't know where my cards are.
Oh,
I didn't tattoo them on my forehead like some people.
Did you take a picture of your card at any point in your life?
I don't think so.
That's just you being an idiot.
That's not a card though, that's a picture.
Yeah, they said a digital application in the case of proof of vaccination. I'm willing to bet you can show me
application.
Well, Missouri does not have apps for this shit because we're behind the times. So you don't have to wear a mask, but you do have to agree not to hold Warfare Weekend liable for any reason if you become infected or sick.
What if I just hold them accountable for overcharging for their event? Is that okay?
Man, somebody's
could
just
Try that, but
just a ray of fucking sunshine.
wow, you don't think $75 for 3 days is a fair price?
If it's actually $75 for 3 days, then that's probably okay. It seems a little high, but I don't know. I feel like all cons are just getting kind of expensive nowadays. Like, there's 3-day events we go to that's like $40 a head, and I'm like, okay, well, that's a good deal. And then,
Where? Show me that.
like, we went to Bug Eater, and it was like $40.
Was it?
I
So,
only paid
okay,
$40.
sure. That's also a high school gymnasium versus a hotel.
No, right.
Obviously.
So it's on the cheap side. Well, but they actually raise money and donate it, and so like obviously they're getting the venue for free, but they're also raising money for charity, which is cool. So like that's obviously on the cheaper end, but then like we go like I want to say just doing Adepticon, like the one tournament would have been $60. And so I don't know. It just seems like a lot of conventions are spiking in pricing. Like we used to pay $50 basically for conventions, pretty across the board. And now it seems like everyone's like $100 and something after everything's said and done. It's just annoying.
Fair enough. I think hotels are annoying right now.
Yeah, hotels are overpriced too.
Like, I just want a bed. Just give me a clean bed. That's $180. No. Just the bed.
Mm-hmm.
Goddamn.
Like when we were booking our LVO time, like it was like, holy shit, why the fuck is it $600 for a room for 3 days?
Mm-hmm. So this just in.
Parker tried to spend $1,200.
Nice, Parker. You got the room with the massage chair.
Yeah.
But I just deleted the War Machine app.
Okay.
Did you get everything you needed out of that?
I was like, wow, all of the factions that I currently have, all the models they picked are all the models that came out in like the last.
Oh yeah.
Like,
why would they want to let you use your old models? Buy the new
right.
stuff, idiot.
And so I don't have like half. I don't even have even though they put in the factions that I don't have to buy their brand new stuff. I still don't even have their old stuff. I guess I could play like a list that's just Warjacks and shit like that. I guess, but
you just have to wait 3 to 15 months, and then you'll have an army for your old shit.
Cool. Well, I've waited this long. I suppose. What's one more 2.5 years or whatever it is? So,
War Machine app. I'm downloading it. I feel bad for giving them an extra download on their ticker, but I want to rip this apart, and I'm gonna give it a 1-star review. That'll really help the ratings, right?
Right now they have 5 stars.
I know. That's why I'm like, what the fuck? Is they have 3 ratings?
Well, let's be fair. The app is working. I just don't want.
I mean, that's a strong point.
The app
The
it
lo-
never broke. It worked the entire time I watched my dreams get crushed.
The looks are not bad.
Yeah. The mouthfeel of the app is crunchy and acceptable, but everything else made me sad.
I made sandwiches for the road trip.
By the road trip, you mean the 4 hours over to St. Louis?
Yeah,
Hmm.
that's a road trip.
That's like my commute to work.
It's not.
I said like. If we're not going at least 14, we don't pack shit.
14 hours.
Yeah. My wife did 22 once. Herself and the kids. Just got in the car and drove. She's a little insane.
What? It's going to make me download 300 megabytes worth of shit to look at the cards.
Pretty cards.
I can't build a force. It won't let me. Rules coming soon. Oh boy. It's this literally has zero functionality unless you download everything. It's annoying. Whatever. Close. I had very little hope that Mark IV would be any good.
I still have hope.
Every time I hear anything about what they are doing, it's like, why are they trying so hard to do the not right thing? Like just do the thing everybody wants you to do. And maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just being pessimistic. But it feels like they're like that like hipster guy who just won't do what is expected of him and wants to do it his own way. But it's like the whole point is to be popular, not to be trendy. And it's like, oh, it's just annoying. What do you think? Am I overreacting to this whole thing?
No, I think it's
I want to say yes, but I can't.
no. I think it's I wish there wasn't just a negative reaction to have. I wish there was some sort of validation in it. I actually believe that there are lots of things that are done like every day that are like validating for people that are like new and old. There are people out there, creative people that figure out ways to do this, and they give a shit about the players and the game, whether it be like video or tabletop or whatever the fuck it is. Like it exists, but there's this other like side of the coin, which is this intimately, obviously destructive, right? Where they feel like the entire their industry, like their product is just like a really long fuse, and you light it at the beginning and you just know eventually the fuse will just run out, and there's no explosion at the end, it just dies. And so you have to race that fuse and get as much money as you possibly can the entire time, and that's the only way to treat your business. And I think it's really strange.
Well, I think they went to that mode at some point, and I don't know that it starts that way, but it definitely gets to that point with a lot of businesses. You get to the point where you know you're not in it for the long haul anymore, and now it's about money per day until it leaves your life, or for some reason or another, like either you sell the business or you're retiring, whatever it happens to be. There is the potential end date, and your goal is to milk everything you can out of it until it's done. And there definitely seemed to be a point right around the end of Mark II, start of Mark III, that happened for the leadership of Privateer Press, where it became more about the money than about the long-term survivability of the product. And then they just ran it into the ground. And GW seemed to do the same thing at like the late 5th edition, which would have been like, let's say 2014-ish time frame, somewhere around that general area. And they basically ran their game into the ground, and everyone was hating it. There was mass exodus. People couldn't get rid of their models. And then they realized what they were doing, and they changed the leadership. And the new leadership was all about the longevity of the game and the company as a whole. And they turned it around, and now it's as profitable as it's ever been.
Right. And that's the thing, is people, even though sometimes the genesis of a new IP is kind of this almost organic thing that seems to just happen, and it's hard to reproduce it, right? You can't just make something really captivating automatically. There has to be like a spark of something there that's a little bit special. However, what you do with that afterwards, like, we know how to treat it, right? If you treat it with respect and you use the process that we all understand is going to work, it works, right? We've seen it. Like the good example is GW. Another example is like Disney. Bungie is a video game company. Something similar. Like they get really popular. They have this wild, amazing creative streak. They are able to keep it up, and all of a sudden it's just a money grab for a huge period of time and everything just tanks and everyone can see the end, but then someone grabs the wheel and yanks it back over, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then it's back upright again and everybody watches it, do its thing. Disney, I'm thinking specifically of the animation studio, not the rest of Disney. But the point is, like, it's really obvious. It's a really clear thing. And yet maybe it's companies, creative groups. Maybe, I feel like it comes down to probably just one or two people in power with ego that just refuse to give it up. And maybe I'm blaming.
Yeah, sometimes it's I'm right, and everyone once it's done, everyone will see how right I was, and then that's not how it works.
I guess.
Like, here's an example. Episode 1. Like, George Lucas was so sure he was right, and everyone was going to be like, "This is so amazing," and he was just fucking wrong. It's like, because he didn't listen. He didn't put people around him that would stand up to him and tell him he was wrong. And and when they did, he didn't want to hear it, and so he made dog shit, and then everyone hated it. Yeah. So I'm going to make a comparison to another company that has mixed approval ratings. Now, I haven't played World of Warcraft myself that much, very little, but WoW was on like an unstoppable trajectory, right? Like right. WoW came out, massively popular game. Wrath of the Lich King launches, probably the most popular the game had ever been at that point. And, it couldn't be stopped. Everything's going great. And then they basically just turned that into success over a long period of time. And then the game's starting to flutter, and like MMOs in general are down. And then they come out with like the Pandera update, where there's like the pandas and like the weird races and stuff that people were like some people were super in on, but a lot of people didn't like, and kind of like fractured the fan base. And then it kind of just started petering out over a long period of time. And it was just commonly going down every update. But then like they got a hold of it. They realized what people wanted was to go back to like the bare bones basic. And they just literally re-released the game in its vanilla version, which is the classic WoW now. And they immediately had a massive surge of players again, because they just want, like, you have a fan base out there. These people that love the game exist in the world, and all they want to do is play the game. And you took that away from them. You've changed it to the point where it's not what they like anymore. If you just re-release the shit you have already designed and balanced, just put it out into the world as a sustainable model, I think people would flock back to it immediately. Just like the classic WoW example. Like, if they just said, we're printing Mark II as of this update, and we're just going to make all the files available online for, like, you've already got the app, and we're just going to make that a download option where you can play, like, this version of the game. It's called this format. Call it Escalation or whatever. And you get Mark II at the end of Mark II. With the maximum balance and everything, you just get all that right there. And we're going to support a tournament bracket for it. We're going to drop a steamroller, whatever, to support that format. And if you guys want to play it, you can play it. I think they need to buy goodwill with the community and create like some kind of buzz. They could do the same thing with like earlier Mark III. Like, we're just going to go pre-CID Mark III. And I would instantly be back in the game. I would play it as much as I could, probably. But instead, we're just nuking additions left and right, and then redesigning games around stuff that people clearly I've never been a fan of in this game, because they've never done this shit before. It's like you have a proven model, and you're just abandoning it and wondering why it's not working. Because they clearly aren't putting in the work to design a whole new game. Because all this stuff seems thrown at the wall.
I actually don't think they're ignoring anything. I actually think they're very, very aware of their model. I don't think it's not unknown for them. I think they're quite aware that, like, another analogy to what they're doing rather than what they're not doing is like gacha games, right? Gacha games, which are the video games, mobile or otherwise, that you have to spend money in order to play, and it's not necessarily gambling, but it's darn close. It's not necessarily pay to win, but it's darn close. And the point is that those models never hold up over time because they rely upon whales. Mm-hmm. The game actually can't make money if everyone spends $1. They actually designed the game so that whales will score huge amounts of money to have a small amount of advantage. And that's what I think PP decided to do. They take a similar model, which is, here we'll have a few people that refuse to go behind the power curve, and we'll just keep pumping out models that are clearly just slightly over the Jedi curve,
Yeah.
and we'll make sure that everybody needs to spend money on these, and we'll try to hook this up directly to our veins by cutting out, stores and any other middlemen we can imagine, so we can milk every single cent out of this, and we'll rely upon those whales to keep us up. And the common player won't do it, but that doesn't matter because we'll just make some money in the shorthand.
Yeah.
And that is exactly the model that gotcha games use. I'm sorry, gosh, that's horrible.
I see where you're going. I completely agree with you. That's basically the mindset or the strategy they used with mid to late Mark III. Is they just relied on huge power creep through CID to encourage people to spend lots of money. But the gacha game format is based on a model where you assume your average player spends $0, which is not the format that war games work on. Like, the most aggressive spenders in war games probably spend 3 to 5 times as much as your average person. But it's not 1,000 times more like in gacha games where like this guy spends $1, I spent $1,200 a month. Like, that's like the gacha game system. Like, the 1% of your player base spends 99% of the money.
But what's funny about those games is, like, over and over and over and over and over again, any video game consultant would tell you that system never works. Like, it's completely
it's got a lifespan, right? Because it gets to the point where the whales have won, and there's no one to compete with anymore, and they lose interest.
Right.
And so that's why I'm saying, like, if that is truly what they did, I doubt they sat down in a room and said, let's do this. Like, let's do a gacha game plan. Like, I doubt that happened, obviously, but
you think so?
I don't think they
wonder if
said
they did.
directly they're doing it. It might have been like a more subtle, like, we're going to try to adapt this formula to us. And they didn't like clearly they wouldn't just choose something that kills their company in 6 months, right? Like, they wouldn't be that stupid. Because they would have just folded up, right? Like, that was the intent. It's like, we're just going to milk the 6 months of cash we can and walk away. That's how the formula works. And then they go create a new game that's completely different, and they try and start all over again. They get the investors and they make the game, and then they try and milk 6 months of cash out of it and leave.
Right.
As where, like, they clearly thought that it was going to keep working, or that they thought they had no other choice. One of the two.
Right.
I don't know. It's just weird.
It's one of those things that you go, why for? Like, what is this for? Other than I guess $1, but you won't even make as many dollars. Like, look next door to Disney, to GW, even in the case of this. Like, you know what happens if you actually want to be king of this.
Yeah,
I guess,
and that's what blows my mind. They did it. They were top of the mountain. They were You could not even argue they weren't a top 3 miniatures game in the world. Like, you couldn't even argue it. Like, you could argue they were number 1. You could argue they were number 2 at different points. You could maybe make an argument they were number 3 if you're including games like X-Wing, which I don't, but it's similar enough. X-Wing's really a board game, but regardless, if you want to put X-Wing above them for a brief period, that's fine. But they were undoubtedly, like, on the top of the mountain with the other big dogs for a long period of time.
Yes.
And they had a devout player base that loved their game and loved playing it. And they started prioritizing money now over money later. And when they did that, they put a lifespan on the game.
Money now. Give me money now.
More money now. Money me.
More money.
More money now, please. That's a quote from Always Sunny.
Charlie wrote that.
Yeah.
No shit.
Yeah, we know.
All right. On that note, let's. I think we should shift.
Yeah,
gears.
I don't know. I don't really want to harp on it too much. I know we've already gone way too far, but it just. I had a thought. What was I wanted to put it into words? I don't understand why they keep going with the assumption that their old system didn't work, when clearly the problem with the old system was people didn't like the power creep of the game, and so instead they just turned up the power creep and changed the rules. It's like, okay, well, nobody liked that before. Why would we like it now? And the game's just been going down ever since. Like people don't like power creep. And I understand, like, there's the logic of, well, if we don't make a better model, they won't buy the new one. They'll just keep their old models. But, like, from someone who's worked in games for 20 years, I know that I'm not the only one that thinks this. If you make a game people enjoy, they will spend their money on it. People have an expendable income. When people come into my store and I tell them how much games cost, I'll give them a general guideline of how much it's going to cost to start playing, and then explain to them this is a hobby. You're going to spend 100% of your expendable income on your hobbies. So a total dollar sign does not exist in any of the games you play. If your favorite game costs $30 to play, you're going to find a way to spend more money on it. For example, people play D&D. You need 3 books between 6 people to play D&D and some dice. That's all you need to play D&D. But guess what? If you play D&D and you fucking love D&D, you're going to buy a sweet model. You're going to pay to have it painted or paint it yourself and buy the supplies to paint it. You're going to buy sweet dice. You're going to buy a dice tray. You're going to buy cool books. You're going to invest in a cool game mat or a digital monitor to play your maps on. You're going to invest in all of this cool amenity stuff because you love the game you play and you want to have as much fun playing it as you can. The same goes into wargaming. Like, I loved War Machine. I played Khador. Guess what? I owned field allowance of all of Khador because I was like, I want to find a way to spend more money on my game because I want to invest more in my hobby. Then I reached maximum Khador allowance and I moved into other affiliations. Like, people will spend money on your game if they like it. So stop trying to trick people into spending money. This is to all game manufacturers, not just Privateer at this point. Stop trying to trick people into spending money and just make a good fucking game if people will buy it.
On a bright note, and I don't think I'll accept a counter argument. I think this game, MCP, actually does a pretty good job of that. I thought about this the other day. That I have all of Winter Guard, and I don't know if I'll ever play them, like to try to win. But I am so excited that I have all of Winter Guard. Like I'm happy, and I don't know if I would ever say that about most games. But this game is just so good. It's just so fun to play. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if the model I bought isn't the best model. I'm so ready to spend money on it.
All right. Well, we successfully wasted half an hour.
I don't know what waste is the word. We talk.
Aaron thinks we wasted half an hour.
Maybe you guys wasted half an hour.
Well,
I got some good random internet browsing going on.
No, okay.
You guys are just pontificating about the demise of Privateer.
Okay. Let me make some notes about our topics today. All right, you guys ready to start?
Oh yeah.
Because it was Halloween. Everyone yelled at me for not doing Halloween stuff last week, but we record on Wednesday, and Halloween was on Monday. That didn't make any sense. Do it like a whole week early, so we made it this time. Parker, in the spirit of Jeremy, I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
What is the worst thing about hitting a deer with your car?
I can tell you what the worst thing was for me, but what is the worst thing?
You have to pay your insurance deductible, the entire deductible, but Mother Nature is only out $1.
I was struggling to see where that was going to go that whole time.
I try to come up with like subtle ones that nobody could get because I know as soon as I say one Jeremy can predict, he's just gonna scream it into the microphone. He's like, "I beat you. You've lost." So I have to keep them hard to guess.
Yeah, that one is from downtown. It's not from left field, but it is from downtown. I like that. Man, the one time I've ever had a deer though, that was freaking. Have either of you guys ever hit a deer?
I have not.
No.
I almost hit a deer. But I dodged it like an agile ninja.
I was a kid in the back seat, and it's one of those like indelible moments in your mind that it wasn't so much traumatic as I guess that's the word is traumatic. It wasn't. I wouldn't break down weeping. My brother did because he's a big like soft heart for animals. He gives zero shit about human genocide. But when that Sarah McLachlan commercial comes on and the Eyes of the Angel starts playing, like she like Arms of the Angel, he just weeps. He cannot handle. He is the kind of guy that one time in a busy 8-way intersection. So I was not 8 ways, 4-way intersection, but 8 lanes, right? Like tons of traffic. There was a dog that wandered in the middle and started freaking out. He drove his truck into the middle of the intersection, hit the hazard lights, and just like dove on the dog. He was like, "Fuck my life, fuck my truck. I'm saving this dog." Like that's the kind of guy he is. So when we were both children, even my mom hits this deer, and that thing just it was in mid bound. It was in mid leap, and so we didn't hit it like square on the side. We actually caught it on the legs. Mm-hmm. It slid off the car and launched off the windshield in the air and went spinning through the air to land.
So just
way
rolled up.
Far away. Yeah, it was. I had enough time to look behind me and see the thing head over heels, like spinning onto the ground. And my brother immediately started screaming and weeping, and both my mom and I were like, "Oh crap! Like, did a hoof go through the windshield or something? Like, is he hurt?" Like, and he immediately went, "It was a dog!" Like, he thought it was a dog.
Oh yeah.
And he was so terrified that we did that to a dog, because even then he could not handle it.
Yeah, deer are
but-
annoying. They're just like vermin. Like they're like, people think they're these like magical creatures, but they're just annoying. So I went to visit some friends of mine, and one of them has a game camera, and they live in like Osawatomie or Paola area, like small town, but like not crazy small. Like it's like there's like Walmarts and shit. Like it's not tiny. So, but then they live kind of in the residential area, but where they live, it's like a new development. They just bought one of the newer houses, and so there's a creek right behind their house, and they used to be backed up to what was forest, and now it's been all cut down, and they're building houses on it. So he has a game camera on his back deck, and it just records anything that walks in his backyard, which is a small little yard. But while I was over there, he got the little chip out, and he's playing all the clips of everything that wandered by. And there's a surprising amount of deer that wander by. Like, there was several times we saw 3 or 4 deer and a little family wandering out. I was like, oh, okay, like, got deer. And then there was a bunch of raccoons, like a lot of raccoons, and a lot of times in packs of like 3 to 5. And I was like, oh, okay, that's a lot of raccoons around here. And then in one of the clips, there's 4 raccoons, and they're all like huddled in a circle. I'm like, what the fuck are they looking at? And then the skunk turns around, and you can see the stripe. I'm like, oh. And I look at it, I was like, did you have a skunk spray? He's like, not that I knew of. And they're literally, the raccoons are like play fighting, because like dogs do, where they're like tackling each other and stuff. And the skunk is in full defense mode. It's got the tail up, and it's like circling, like trying to keep eyes on all of them. And they just want to play with it. It's so clear they just want to play with it. Like they keep wandering up to it and like play batting at it, and they're like raising the paw, like, let's go. And it's like, I will fuck you up. Like, the skunk was having none of it. It was actually really funny to watch. It's like a 30-second clip of 4 raccoons trying to wrestle a skunk.
That's pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm.
When we went to the economy at the MCI airport, the economy parking. It's a strange place, right? Because there's always tons of cars,
but nobody's there.
But nobody's ever there. Super deserted. And every single time somebody comes back from a trip, one of the first things they do is they will unload trash like into these trash cans. But again, it's really distant, really far out there, so the trash cans don't get changed every day. And so if you want to observe raccoons, all you have to do is go to the MCI budget parking lot early in the morning, and you will just see gobs of raccoons, is what I found out the other day when I was there early in the morning.
That's funny.
Is there were just my mom actually went to throw something away, getting ready to get on the plane. She's like, "Oh, I better throw this away so it's not rotting in my car, right?"
Mm-hmm.
And as she puts it in there, a raccoon jumps out of the trash can, just like and just like runs away. She's like, "Holy shit!" like immediately freaks out. I was like, "Yeah, I think I would probably be freaked out if a whole adult raccoon just came out of a trash can." But yeah, they were just chilling underneath the cars, just like kind of like you were saying, like playing with each other, relaxing, hanging out. My daughters were immediately enamored. They're like, "That's so cute." I was like, "Yeah," until you got anywhere close to them, that they get less cute. Don't play with raccoons. It's kind of like one of those things that I don't want there to be a raccoon show where everybody's friends with a raccoon, because I don't want my daughters ever thinking that's cool. Let's go be friends with the raccoon.
So
they will fuck you up.
I've decided what my next pet's going to be if I get another pet after my dog, and I'm going to get a sable.
Sable?
Do you know what a sable is?
I'm pretty confident I know what a sable is. Isn't it it's a relative of a ferret, right? Or a weasel?
Yeah, it's like a rodent.
Mm-hmm.
But they look like little tiny bears. They're like a bear the size of a ferret. I posted a video of one in the podcast chat. You guys should look at it. They're super adorable. And because the sable hair, I believe, is from the sable, like the one they use in the paintbrushes. So if I wanted to, I could have paintbrushes made from my own sable.
Are they predators like ferrets?
I think so.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah,
they're relatives to like minks, I guess.
Yeah. That would make sense. Are you playing it out loud? The sound.
No.
Somebody's playing
I'm
it over their
rec-
speakers.
Oh, I'm recording. I try not to play sounds on my computer while we're podcasting because it gets recorded by
I
the.
was saying it's playing through, like, I think it's playing over your speakers. I can hear it.
Oh, it's not my speakers. I hit play on.
Aaron, were you playing it?
No.
Okay.
I pitched.
Weird.
I'm looking at picture. I just typed in Sables.
Okay. I guess I'll check the audio and figure out who was playing it.
You should.
Yeah, it's Parker though. I mean, Aaron. It didn't look like Aaron was watching the video. I look up and I could hear it. I look at the audio mixer and it's playing my sources, so it's coming from you guys through Discord. And I'm like, I'm not watching it, but I could hear the video I just linked you.
Okay, yeah, Sables are just a version of a ferret, and you can absolutely keep them.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Unlike
Guess-
hummingbirds.
Yeah. Guess what pet my wife had growing up?
Sable.
A chinchilla.
Not a sable or chinchilla. Bigger than a sable.
Bear.
Smaller than a bear.
Deer.
Rabbit.
Bigger than a rabbit. Probably
Croc-
bigger than a deer.
Crocodile.
Probably
Bigger
smaller.
than a-
Tiger.
What's bigger? Than
Smaller.
A monkey.
Sea turtle.
You are along the right line.
I'm only
of
going
thought.
with size.
A lemur.
Oh, llama. That's actually something you could have.
It's a carnivore.
Ooh, carnivore.
A fox. Does she have a fox?
That's way too
Bigger.
small. She said bigger than a deer.
Ish. Depends on the size of the deer.
Okay, roughly deer sized.
Deer size. There you go.
What?
Predator.
Does she have like a mountain lion or something crazy?
Yes, she
She had a
did.
cougar.
Yeah.
Cougar. I would definitely say 2 cougars bigger than a beer, or a deer, not a beer.
There's some big deer out there, but yeah.
There are some big deer, but
Like the
think-
deer
I
will
think-
stand higher than the cougar.
yeah, they'll stand taller, but we can weigh them, and I'll tell you which one is heavier.
Well, sure.
There's nothing
Yeah.
more terrifying than driving a car with a live cougar in it.
Oh, she did all the time.
I don't think I could hang out with a cougar. As much as I'm fascinated by them, like I think they're absolutely beautiful
I
creatures.
feel like there's a joke here, and she's just talking about her stepmom or something.
No, there's no joke.
It's not a joke. Okay, I felt like we
No.
were being railroaded there.
No, I'll bring the pictures next.
Aaron
podcast.
plays it more subtle than I do.
plays.
Bingo Gablogian.
I really, I'm kind of fascinated by this now because one of my favorite zoo exhibits that exists is actually there's a zoo in Salina, Kansas, that was created by this real eccentric, rich guy, and it's really actually a really well done zoo. It's mostly for rescue stuff, and one of the creatures that they rescued was this mountain lion, and so it's been there. It's now its whole life. It can't be released into the wild, and it's my favorite thing to go and look at the zoo. I get kind of pissed off when people want to leave the area because I was like, I just want to look at this thing. It's gorgeous. It's so cool because it lives. It's supposed to be here. That's the thing I love about it. When you see lions and shit, you're like, yeah, but this thing's not here. It's here.
Yeah. This
against
thing's
its own wishes.
it's like when you go to get like American barbecue in Japan, you're like, this is not what it is. Like this is like a
Yeah.
replica, like a facsimile of what it could be. Like it's not
Right.
the same thing.
But when I go walking, in the woods, like I will think I will think about my tiny daughter, and I'll go, I cannot let her get too far away from me because I don't want to find out there are mountain lions here that way.
Yeah, that's the bad way to find mountain lion.
Yeah, that's the way I don't want to find out there are mountain lions around.
Dude, I watch the videos like we've talked about. I don't like bears. Like I love bears, but I just don't want to be anywhere near them. like I'm terrified of bears, but they're so cool. It's like a respect thing. It's like I need to be 10 miles away from a bear at all times. Like no closer than that. That's close enough.
This is a no bear zone.
Yeah, this is a no bear zone is where I am at all times. And so
you're saying-
like I watch videos like people hiking. It's like, yep, I found 3 grizzly bears. Like, you're hiking in the wrong fucking state.
Yeah, all the cool places have bears.
Yeah, I know.
and I think that's on purpose because the bears go places that are cool.
Yeah.
They don't do no pussy shit.
Yeah.
You won't find a bear at like Six Flags. That's dumb. You want to find a bear at cool places. In fact, you probably could find a bear at certain Six Flags, depending on the Six Flags.
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying Ursa Major is one of your favorite models you really want to play because
I was so excited when I saw his model, and then I was so let down.
Aw.
He might actually not be that bad. I need to get him on the table. Aaron, is he that bad?
Only played him like twice.
But
But-
he I
Yeah.
feel like if he was that bad, you would be like, man, this guy's trash, and just throw him in the garbage. Like, I think he's real bad, but I have hopes. But we'll see.
Just like I do for War Machine. We're on the same boat.
I don't. I think that's just blind optimism, and there's no facts behind it.
Like I said, same boat.
You just get on the cantankerous old angry person that I am over here about War Machine, and then we can be on the same page.
I'm working on it.
Okay. I mean, don't worry. PP will get you there fast enough.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's go and wrap it up. We already got plenty. Good night, everybody. Goodbye.